You are now listening to the Sae Bae Cast, the #1 old school RuneScape podcast featuring guests from all across Galanor. To support this podcast, visit the Patreon link in the description.
All right, welcome to the Sae Bae Cast, number 131 with MMORPG, or
Hello.
Curtis.
Hi.
How are you doing this fine evening?
Oh, fantastic. It's been the day off today. We call this the chore day. So, I go around, do all my house chores, be hoovering and that. I try to get some games in as well, the kind of boring games you don't want to stream.
Yep.
We're talking like, you're kind of Herblore secondary collecting all that. But yeah, it's been a nice chill day, and I'm happy to wrap it up with a beautiful invite to this podcast. So very excited for the topics.
I am
today.
Super stoked. And okay, so let me just give a brief introduction of how I discovered your content.
Oh my.
So let's see. I started old school middle of 2015. And the first few people, so the first person I actually watched on Twitch was Randalicious. And I saw rank 2 in his title. And at that point, I was like 3 days back into old school, and I didn't even know what ranks were hardly. And so I'm like, okay, this guy's rank 2. But
very
I swear,
then.
In that first week, I started watching you. I started watching Foe. I started watching Bodhi as well. And your account, my friend, just made me my mouth would water over like your bank.
Yeah, it was the yearly bank videos. Like, we've been doing those since 2015, and it just kind of became a routine thing. I was like, oh my God, like, I've put in the work this year. May as well do another one, see what people think. Because at the end of the day, Ironman is just a big flex mode in my eyes. So if you're going to play it and you're a content creator, you just got to go balls to the walls, and just kind of
have to
put it out there. Yeah.
Yeah, your account for sure was always like, there was a few. Like, yours was always I think the main one that was in my head was just like, that is literal hashtag goals right there. Like, if I could ever have an account that was that good, and you probably get that all the time, like just being a content creator, having a beast Ironman.
I guess that's part of the motivation, isn't it? Because when you have people coming in and saying that kind of stuff, you're like, want to strive for bigger and better goals. And that's what it's been over the years. You start out small, start off on the small grinds, kind of just like building up the account, doing the stats. And then they start bringing out these insane ass logs like Nightmare and that take thousands of hours. And you're just like, you know what? I'm just going to do it. Because at the end of the day, it's going to create like an awesome experience for everyone, like the journey of it, I feel. And you just have a really nice account at the end of it. And that's what I really like about Ironman mode overall. It's just being able to set so many goals and just kind of get it out there.
Well, all I'll say is I've definitely been like peeking at your journey for the past, 8 years or something.
Yeah, it's been a long one.
Yeah. And I got to say, there were a few grinds in particular I want to kind of talk about. I mean, obviously we all know of the corp grind, and especially like the old fashioned way of doing it in the early days, which you had to suffer through. God. And
reminded me of that.
The Dragon Warhammer grind as well. That was really brutal.
What a classic. Yeah. I can say that was a Golden Gnome worthy grind, that one. Because back in the day at RuFest, they used to do a nomination for the best like video clip. And it was up against like some ridiculous clips. Like, you had Ice Person at the time wearing like some sort of water hat. And there was some clip of like Boaty doing like a reaction. And then you had my Dragon Warhammer there. And it was just talking about it before it happened. It just made it stand out. And it was just the way it happened. And I've had it a lot with grinds over the years where you just kind of talk it into existence or manifest it, and it's just there. And it's just incredible when it happens because it creates such a nice clip. And I love it. What a grind there.
That clip was absolutely epic. I used to like just go onto YouTube. I used to literally replay some of like just reaction clips in general. I remember for example, Mr. Mammal's like third age plate clip, like
that one slowed down. It's so good.
I watched that so many times because it was just like just like somebody organically pulling a super, super rare thing is just so addicting to watch.
That's it. And like, Mammal's the most wholesome guy, so like, you could just only imagine what he was going through his head. He was like, start of old school, he was like, oh my God, I could buy the best gear with this, It's like, third age was the big stuff back in the day, This was like 70, 80 mil, I'm pretty sure, maybe even more. I don't even know.
Yeah.
This was the big stuff, This was when old school hardly had any bosses. I'm pretty sure this was pre-Zora,
Oh yeah, I think it was, yeah.
What were you aiming towards back then? Like what, Barrows and I guess.
I think like AGS, was like one of the best items. I want to say. I didn't even play back then. I just remember like the stories of people saying,
Yeah.
Yeah.
When did you start old school overall then?
So
sorry to throw some questions on you, but we'll turn it around.
No, I love it. So I actually started RuneScape as a kid in 2004, but as soon as the Wildy updates came out, where they just got rid of free trade, I completely quit for 8 years. I just didn't ever log in.
I think that you could say that for a lot of people, though. I'm sure a lot of guys did that route, and then they heard old school came out, and it was like, wow, I may as well, especially with like seeing all the content creators getting on it and all the YouTubers. And that's how I found it as well, just through like YouTube starting back up.
Yeah,
and
so
I Twitch.
I actually didn't find RuneScape through any online sources. It was literally my roommate when I was in Las Vegas. I was doing sales out there. I was like, I was literally going door to door selling solar panels.
Yeah.
And my roommate was like, "Did you ever play RuneScape as a kid?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I freaking loved that game, but they destroyed it." And he's like, "No. They brought it back in its old glory." I'm like, "Shut up." I'm like, "Shut up." No, they didn't. Like they literally ruined the game. Like there's no way they fixed it. There's just no possible way.
I gotta check this out for myself. Yeah.
And literally within 3 days after logging in, I was fully hooked. Like just fully hooked. I could not believe it.
That's how you sum up old school realistically. It's just addiction. I just don't know what it is about it. Like, I play other games, but you can play them for a certain amount of time, but there's just something that about RuneScape just keeps coming back every single time.
I don't understand it. So let me ask you, when did you originally start, and then how soon after did you start content creation?
Okay, so I'd say originally I started original RuneScape back in 2007. So this was around, I think the first event was actually the chicken outfit, the Easter one. And then I just kind of was a very casual player. I think after a year or so, I started doing just like RuneScape music videos at the time, like really old cheesy videos, I kind of already enjoyed doing editing and video making. Didn't really take off back in the day. It was more just like a fun thing. But around when old school came up, 2013, obviously I started playing straight away. I was in college at the time. I was doing a games development course, and I was just really excited for the old school release because obviously it's something I've really enjoyed playing in the past. I was maining other games at the time, but then I just kind of threw it all aside and was like, oh yeah, let's get back into this. Started with a few friends in my college class, and after about a year, by the time 2014 came around, me and my friends were doing videos for fun. They were like, oh, why don't you try out, Twitch streaming on RuneScape because you've been playing it quite a bit already. I was like, oh yeah, you know what? Probably a good idea. So we just kind of fired up the stream. The first few streams were just literally like this, kind of just conversating and over Skype and just kind of bringing the viewers who did tune in into the conversation and keep them involved. And I think that's why, a lot of the first guys who actually tuned in, they kind of stuck around because they felt more involved and it felt very personal. When my content creation started. And that was kind of the format of the stream. I just, played the game and just enjoyed talking to the viewers. And by the time Ironman mode came around, that's where it just really took off. And I went from there. And I guess that's why we just stuck with it all these years, because it's just, Ironman's just been so consistent with the releases that have been happening on the side as well.
Mm-hmm. Now, Ironman definitely completely revolutionized old school.
That's it, yeah. Yeah. Because it was bound to happen. You got to think, like, unofficial mode was already becoming a big thing, even within the first year. Like, you had Boaty doing his one-man army series, Foe doing, like, the unofficial. You had, obviously, the ultimate mode being a thing. I think was it Iron No Bank who was, like, one of the first ones, I'm pretty sure.
I wouldn't know.
For ultimate. Yeah, I think he was doing, like, one of the first unofficial ultimate Ironman. But, yeah, after that, Jagex were just like, you know what? From a business standpoint, this would work. We can make a whole new mode. Think of it from their perspective. They'd be like, we get all these new memberships. Like, we have a whole new game mode for people to enjoy. And it was the right decision because I assume that a lot of players are at least tried or are currently playing an Ironman.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I would actually be surprised. Type of gameplay. I would be surprised, like, just the sheer number, like, the percentage of players that have at least tried an Ironman, because it's got to be over half of, like, real players.
And I mean, with collection log obviously becoming a more prominent thing for mains now, it's kind of like you're playing that style a lot either way. Mm-hmm. It's just you're kind of grabbing yourself away from the monotonous supply grinding with a main, I feel now. But at the end of the day, you're still going to be doing the log stuff. So
let me ask you about the first announcement of Ironman mode. Did you decide to start playing Ironman mode before they had even announced it? Like, were you like ready to go?
Oh yeah, like at the time, the only account I was playing was a Zerker. I think I started out as like a 1 defense. Must have ruined it or something. I don't know. And it went to like 20 defense after a while. And then eventually I was like, you know what? I'm just going to ruin this account for an elite clue. And that was one of the first clips actually that kind of blew up. Because I think it was featured at like Spartamat Live at the time, and Chris Archie Prods, they like featured the clip. So I was like, well, I've got nowhere to go with this account now. I was working on kind of pushing the stats up to max, and then that's all it was going to be, just a PvP account with higher stats. So by the time Ironman was announced, I was like, oh yeah, I got to get on this, new game mode and that. Especially with, people doing the unofficial modes already. I was like, this looks great. This would be a great direction to kind of take my streaming. Because at this point, I was 6 months into doing content creation. So I was like, there needs to be some sort of steady path. And I think with new updates and releases on RuneScape, it's one of the best things you can do to really exceed with your content, because everyone's going to obviously want to see the new stuff. I mean, it's obviously very saturated now. Everyone's going to be doing it day one, but at the time, old school. Yeah, exactly. Old school category was like kind of still growing. It's only a year in, so Ironman was perfect.
So I'm pretty sure UIM and Ironman came out around the same time. Did you have like
same day?
Okay, so were you like split between choosing one or the other, or were you all like completely set on just normal Ironman?
Oh no, I think because I'm quite a collector, and I would say I'm quite a hoarder as well. Like I just didn't like the idea of Ultimate. I was like, oh, I want to be able to collect items and not really have too many restrictions other than no trading. So Ultimate to me was like, how could you play like that? Like I could understand it as soon as maybe you got into the mode and kind of learned the methods and kind of offset it from like, okay, this is the XP&R for this skill on Ultimate. I can't compare it to the main game, otherwise I'm going to demotivate myself. But yeah, I feel like with both coming out at the same time and never trying either of them, Ironman was the no-brainer really. It's like you weren't literally limited. It was a new thing for me either way. So but I respect anyone who jumps on the Ultimate, There was a lot of people who did that.
Yeah, no, I've never personally understood the whole Ultimate Ironman grind. Like, obviously, it's gotten easier over the years, but dude, back then, it was brutal. Like, it was just brutal. You could not collect
with the old
anything.
death mechanics as well.
Oh,
I think, I'm trying to remember if like your stuff instantly showed up when Ironman was released, because I'm pretty sure like gravestones didn't start coming a thing until the DDoSing started. I remember around the time I was doing my first like crafting grind and doing these green dragons, that's when like Lizard Squad was quite prominent. And like there was just DDoS attacks happening, and like there was so many people losing their stuff and that. So they just had to put in like a 1 year thing, or a 1 hour thing. Sorry.
So was that immediately after Ironman? Like, because when I started playing in mid 2015, we already had the hour.
I'm pretty sure it was fairly early into it, if not before.
Okay.
Because I do remember it becoming a real big thing with everyone getting hit off for their stuff. It's real bad. Especially with Ironman, you can imagine like you've been grinding hundreds of hours for an item and then suddenly you just lose it to like getting disconnected. Very bad, yeah. So that's where obviously old school started to progress, because on release it was just like the old game, you died, your stuff showed up everywhere. It was great.
So I've obviously heard that was a problem, like the DDoSing. Was it pretty big? Like you're saying it was a pretty big problem.
Yeah, I mean, old school, I imagine didn't have the infrastructure on their servers to really hold up against these kind of things. They weren't really expecting it. Probably something they've never dealt with before. So I feel like over the years they've kind of had to, build it up and what it is today. Because obviously with each Deadman mode we saw as well, it's been a huge problem as well in the finals. I can imagine the amount of stress in those servers with 2,000 people on top of someone trying to hit it off. It's going to be real bad. But yeah, around that time it was getting real bad. Like it would be hit off probably once per day. And they just had to say, right, we got to put in these mechanics now to kind of stop people losing their stuff. Because I imagine customer support, you did not want to deal with that. Like people would have just left their jobs to deal with that rather than all these people emailing and saying, oh, my stuff got hit off and that. Yeah, it was bad.
that would have been, oh my god, yeah, that was a really smart decision to have the hour time, even though it made I keep hearing on Twitter, PKers really wanting the reversion of like old death mechanics to make the game more dangerous, but it's like, we cannot go back there. Those are the dark days. We cannot go back.
I feel like rather than losing items now, you've got modes that are obviously hardcore where you can kind of recreate the dangerous stuff. Obviously you don't lose your items, but I feel like with a game like RuneScape where you're putting in loads of hours, you're just gonna quit if you just lose all your stuff, unless you're an ultimate player, That is still a mechanic of Ultimate. You can literally wipe your whole bank. And I'm so surprised when I see Ultimates go in, you know what, we're going to rebuild from now. After they've had like, max gear and that. It's insane.
The thing
Honestly,
is like a UIM that gets to that point has to be masochistic in nature. So like so them losing all their stuff is like, it actually is probably like making them more motivated. I don't know. It's like there was something. Who was it? Was it there was some UIM
one big Ultimate
years
who
ago.
got wiped.
Yeah, it was like the dirtiest wipe ever. It was like over $1 billion, like just something ridiculous.
I mean, I've seen ones recently. I can't remember the names, but there's people who've got wiped of their shadows and just like T-Bow and everything, just for like PKs because they've been at the wrong place at the wrong time and they've been scouted out by a clan. That's literally all it takes, like a white dot on a minimap. And I'm pretty sure like they have like Discord pings as well, like some of these scout bots now. And as soon as they like scout over, that's it. They're on the radar, They're looking at the high scores, they're going, what are they currently doing? What are they doing the most? Are they doing a one-off clue? Or is it like a boss grind that we can like jump on and maybe catch them off guard? And that's how they get them.
Yeah, that was, I think, how I can't even remember the guy's name, but apparently there's just like scouts at TOB because he was doing TOB or something, and they're just waiting for him to end his raid, and then they start getting in Discord calls probably and saying, okay, he's about to, do the whole bag clear. Oh my God.
Jeez. Yeah, because they used to scout them at just above Edgeville as well. Like literally in level 1 Wildy, they would try and kill them there, like TB, and they'd have to obviously do the KO within like 10 seconds before the freeze worn off, but it did actually get some people like that.
Yeah.
And honestly, by the PK's perspective, that's impressive. That's an impressive kill.
It
is.
Get
the scout down and that. Like, if I died to that as an Ultimate, I would just put my hands up and be like, you know what? Okay, I'll rebuild, So maybe that's the position they're in. They're like, you know what? Fair play. I died in a fair way, Maybe I should have been a bit more careful. But now they're used to the game mode,
Yeah. No, I mean, it's a good point. There's just no way I could rebuild that account. It would literally have to be, I'm done with this account. Like, I have to move on. Like, there's just, oh my God.
I think what would keep me there would be the stats. And then I'd be like, right, can I see myself starting from scratch, like a corrupted gauntlet grind or something?
That's true. I mean, there always is that. Like, if you really care about the mode and you care about that account a lot, that's a different story. But, dude... If okay, so let me just ask you this, because I'm in the same position. Like if you were to, it is different as well that you're a content creator, and I am too. But like if you weren't a content creator and your Ironman got hacked and it lost all of its gear, like, dude, you gotta remember the amount of the sheer amount of hours it takes to get those. This
is what I said to my stream quite recently.
Okay,
well, it's probably before the hardcore group Ironman when I was still playing the Iron, but I said, obviously now that logging's a thing, because obviously we've played Iron since before the log came out, I've got a lot of items on there that are not like filled in.
True.
And that are like in the bank. So I said, you know what? If I ever got cleaned and my whole bank was gone, I would literally just set the goal of filling in these log slots. And that would naturally just rebuild the account anyway. I think I would find that quite fun. Because that's most likely what I'd progress to anyway on a main. So no, I wouldn't see myself leaving that account. I think I would literally do that and just see where I got to. Obviously, it would never get to the point where it was, but I don't really have that mindset of like comparing to what you used to have to what you got now. I just kind of think of like the go forward and the goals you've got in front of you rather than dwelling on like something in the past,
Yeah. Now that is a good point. There is collection log. So here, let me ask you this. What do you think about collection log coming out? Because you mentioned a little bit earlier, like collection log has kind of made even main accounts feel like Ironman, that same play style of just doing all content.
Yeah, definitely, because you're going to go out and do grinds that you've just wouldn't have the reason to do, like Trouble Brewing. I mean, come on, like you're doing it for literally like a number in a book. I mean, like you ain't going to do that content normally unless there's like something there to kind of incentivize it. So I do feel like it kind of makes it a bit more solo gameplay, because even with team content, like where you can do God Wars together, you still got to get the drop in your name. So realistically, your mindset's going to be, you know what, I'll just solo it. Or what a lot of people do with pets. Obviously, they use ults, so they get the drop every time, speeds it up. That's obviously a great meta in old school because we have no summoning, To prolong the trips, we have ults now. So, it's a very allowed thing to do. Speeds up the grind, why wouldn't you do? It's completely legal, People are always going to try and take advantage where they can. It's definitely not a bad thing. It's quite impressive, actually, when people, have multiple accounts at once. Even to, like, train them to that point.
It's funny because like a few years ago, I used to I used to say this silly. It was kind of like almost to trigger people, like it just really mildly. But I would say like people that are there seemed to have been like a group of players that were actually just angry at Iron Man. Like just Iron Man as a whole. Like they just hated Iron Man because and in my eyes it was just you're angry because you ain't us, basically. And that was like how I like got under their skin. But
like,
dude,
I'm not meant to be some sort of like Iron Man only guy, but like you just gotta respect the way people play, you know. Like at the end of the day, we're all enjoying RuneScape. If you want to play solo, fair enough, you know. If you don't like the whole no trading aspect, then you know there's an option for everybody. And I think that's the beautiful thing about this game. Now we've got multiple modes to fit everyone's playstyle. So but I can definitely see it.
I was saying that like it must have been like just directly after Collection Log, but I will say Collection Log has seriously leveled the playing field of the fun definitely. You can get as a main, because I always used to say Iron Man was just the goated mode because you have to get the things and then you can actually legitimately flex them that you obtained them. But nowadays with Collection Log, you can still have that same flex where like you did obtain it because it's on your Collection Log. So
yeah, you flex your book, you know. I could see Jagex making some like physical iron where you can flex your book, or like some sort of achievement caves. I don't know. I'm to see how that progresses.
I'm super into the wieldable Collection Log, to be honest. Yeah, it's funny though, because just going back to that point, it's like nowadays, dude, I'm getting to the point where I'm more envious of mains, because now mains have all the pros of what Iron Man originally was, which is like flexing your account, but they don't have the chores. Like you're saying, today was your chore day. like you don't have it as a main.
Getting eggs right now. Like I'm literally getting spider eggs. Like as a main, you don't do this, you know. You buy the supplies, you do the grind, you grind the items. There you go. There's no downtime, you know. With Iron Man, honestly, as a full-time Iron Man streamer, a lot of the stuff I'm doing off stream is prepping for the next stream, and that's why the hours just rack up. Because what people don't realize is like behind the scenes of a stream, like if you want to obviously keep the PVM stuff going, like months and months of grinds, like you have to be getting the supplies on an Iron Man, because it doesn't come out of thin air until you get to the end game stuff, you know.
I mean, even then it doesn't come out of thin air. Like let me ask you about your nightmare grind. Did you ever get a harm early and start using it with like burnt pages?
Like that's just a trap. I'm gonna say it now. Like Wintertodd on an iron and maintaining that book is just so physically impossible. Like you can't do it. Like you'll be able to use it for maybe a few kills, but like having to go back to Wintertodd and the chore of doing it, like you'd have to go all the way to 200 mil to even make it worth it. It just isn't it. You know, I'm so glad the shadow is a thing now. Like screw the harm on an iron, man.
Dude, the harm was
more a PvP weapon.
I just remember like I got my harm and I was not even 20 mil fire making. I literally had to do like 30 mil fire making just to like get a few hundred kills in using it and just enjoying it. And then I'm like, dude, this is a problem. And
that's it.
Yeah.
And it surprises me how expensive it was on release as well. Like I understand it's the best in slot mage DPS at the time, but like 1.5 bill for this orb for like increased tick on your mage attack speed. Like holy crap.
I mean, it was mainly for PKers, I think. Like, just that weapon is so brutal in the wilderness. It's brutal.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. Like, Fire Surge hitting 50s at like 4 tick. Oh, yeah, it is. It was real good for setting up those. Because it's just like the delay as well of doing the Fire Surge. By the time the projectile's already towards them, you're already coming in with your spec. And like, they just die. It's great.
Yep. Yeah,
Iron Man, it was kind of useless. It was just you literally got it from Nightmare to use it for Nightmare. I didn't really use it outside of that because I was too scared of using the charges.
Yeah, no, that's literally what it felt like. Just it's impossible to upkeep, and the chores really never end either. If like for example, I don't know if you're a Blood Shard user. I'm addicted to the Blood Fury. I can't stop using it now.
Especially for the Vardorvis now. Oh, those prolonged trips with like SGS or like Ancient God Sword and Blood. Oh, it's so much better. I love it.
So good there. But that's like one of those chores that is endless now.
Yeah. I can't even tell you how much feeding I've done there. Like it's ridiculous. And you go like sometimes 15,000 pickpockets dry at one point. I'm sure a lot of people can say this. And you're just thinking, is this even worth it? You know?
I know. That's what it always feels. So you're probably, well, I don't know what your thieving level is or your thieving XP. What's that at?
I'll have to double check. I have no idea myself.
Because eventually you will get to 200 mil and then it's like, oh shit. Like, do I keep doing this post? I mean, I'm not crazy close.
Have you done any Blood Shards recently? Because the bots there right now are absolutely crazy. Like there's bots who will stay there like 200 mil at a time and just not get banned.
Dude,
I don't understand that.
I have been literally yelling about that just on
it's bad.
my rambles and everything. I'm like, dude, well, first of all, the bots have gotten so crazy that you log in and they will log out just instantaneously. Like you'll have some of the bots that'll do that, and then you'll have some that like just don't give a fuck because, like you said, they're literally 200 mil thieving and they're still doing it and they're fine. So it's like, why even
screw it? I'll just keep going, why not? They probably make a bank, just selling off these blood shards for pizzas and stuff like. Jeez.
So here's the problem is like we have the main accounts seem to not care as much. Like just people that are like blind to it, like that just will never do that content, which is mains. Like there's no way a main would just normally do that content. They don't care, and they actually kind of welcome it because now it's giving a really valuable item just a really low cost because you got bots doing it. And
I mean, it's like what 5-6 mil right now. Like that is a pretty solid price. I can imagine without the bots, 10 mil plus. At that point, you're thinking, is it even worth using on a main? Like, probably not. They do go fast, especially with a scythe like that.
Yeah,
oh my god,
they burn through. But the problem is, like, I was even talking to, I can't remember who I was talking to, but it was the idea, or it was like, you know how main accounts will just buy magpies or whatever for their hard clue grinds?
Yeah, like for the clues and 1 in 25 rate.
Yeah, they were like freaking out about like that it's not worth it now to even do like like you lose money now if you want to do hard clues. And I was just surprised that you ever profited money doing it. But
like
the thing
is, even a thing. Like clues items are barely anything.
They are all bots doing it. Like there was no real players that are genuinely going to Puro sitting all day and then selling the magpie implings on the Grand Exchange. Like there's just no way. And I'm like, dude.
I mean, maybe that was me the first year of old school, but like,
not
anymore.
Yeah.
I love Puro. I don't know what it is. I just love Puro. It's just nostalgic for me, and like I just love starting an account with that and just seeing the item appear in your inventory. It's like loot openings, You get something out of stacking up all these points and just seeing what items you get. And for me and Puro, because you can get to that point in a few days on like a new account, it's just nice every time.
Dude,
I just like the variety.
You got it made. Like the fact that you enjoy Hunter as a skill, that is a great skill to love. I know. That is a great skill to love because I hate it. And that it's so beneficial on a new account. It's so beneficial.
It's just so okay. What it is for me is you can start it without anything else. I love skills like that where you don't need to go out your way to like chore over stuff to do the skill. I just like to jump straight into it. And I feel like with this, it's got like no quest tied to it, nothing like that. Obviously, they added Eagle's Peak now for the box strap because all the bots and that. But no, there wasn't anything tied to it before. Like you could literally just start up and you'd be at chins within like under 24 hours of your account, and then you were making bank. Because even Black Chins, when they first came out, this was, I think, just before Ironman mode, they brought out Black Chins, and they were going for like 4 or 5K. And you got to imagine the first year of old school, like this was bank. You could buy like all your best of items after that, hunting these.
Yeah, that's crazy. 4 to 5K back then was just so
unreleased. Yeah, it's because they just obliterated Armadillo, so people were buying out these chins, obviously training their account with them as well. They were just too good, like, and just very, very easy to source as well. So lots of people were doing it, and surprisingly, there wasn't many PKs when they were first released actually hunting them, because I think at the time you didn't actually get them as a drop.
Oh, they just disappeared. Right?
Yeah, they just disappeared, so it wasn't really worth it.
Oh, damn. And back then, you could just release them as well. I think nowadays you can't even do that.
Yeah, I think you had inbox mechanics back then as well, where you could literally just do it from anywhere. I think it might have been below 30, but the inbox mechanics were definitely different to where you could just bank them all.
Okay.
So it just wasn't worth PK in there. If you were there in like no gear at all, like it's just stay off them, Maybe for the off chance they've forgot something, but it just wasn't really worth it.
Yeah, Hunter was definitely the way to go. So let me ask, what's your least favorite skill? If Hunter's your favorite,
I'd say mining. I just hate like individually clicking rocks. For me, I enjoy mining when it's AFK. So if I'm doing like, say, because for the pet right now, I'm doing Amethyst, right? But I just love it with the superior gloves. You get that chance of it respawning straight away, and you just kind of don't even think about it. You look back at your XP, you're like, okay, I've gained like 2 mil. And you've also got lots of stuff that's useful for your account as well, like the Amethyst darts, your arrows and that. So for me, the skill needs to be like worth for other stuff, but also an option where I can do it on the side as well. So when I was doing like, say, iron ore, power mining iron ore for that, or like free tick 4G granite, I just didn't enjoy it, because for me, it just got me in the mindset of having to watch the XP and being like, okay, I've got 40k to go. Could it be? Yeah, I just didn't like the format. I just preferred kind of having it on the side. So I ended up doing like a lot of Motherlit to my 99 when I was going for max.
Yeah, it's kind of a shame the spot that mining's in. It's like you say with Hunter, you are literally getting heavily rewarded for your time. And so the XP, you don't even care about the XP.
Exactly,
You're getting useful stuff the whole way through.
That's it. If it's benefiting other skills, then I'm all for it.
Yeah.
But don't get me wrong. I mean, mining's got lots of content. Like they've got obviously Blast Mine now. You've got, I guess Zolkana is not really a method, but that combined with Giant's Foundry now is one of the most OP things for Ironman Smith. And like, oh my god,
so broken. Yeah.
If you camp at Zolkana, you don't have to worry about Golder anymore. The whole Blast Furnace buying is not even a thing anymore, really.
Mm-hmm.
Unless I guess you put some more XP than 99, but yeah, I feel I would rather do Giant's Foundry now over Golder. I mean, what's your thoughts on like Giant's Foundry as like a piece of content?
Well, Giant's Foundry, the problem is like, okay, so I think the fundamental design of like, okay, let's have a more rewarding place to use your bars, like a place where you can use fewer bars. I think that's fine. I think they probably went a little extreme on it. I think it's like 80%. It's like something ridiculous where like you really don't need that many bars. But my problem is the actual core gameplay of it is so boring. It's so boring.
It's repetitive, and I think that's what a lot of old school is, but there are certain things that do stand out where you're just like, oh, I have to do like another 20 swords for this level, and it's like, oh.
It's like, okay, so I'm actually really okay with the repetitiveness in most skilling methods. I think that's like fundamental to what skilling should be. But oh my god, like it's like there's something about Giant's Foundry that just like irritates me. It's like that bar that's slowly lowering and like you're trying I think it's also something in my mind that's trying to be like as efficient as possible. So I'm trying to like squeeze out,
you have to like wait.
Yeah. I have to squeeze out every little bit, and I'm literally just seething at the mouth because I'm just getting irritated that like it's one thing away. So I have to run all the way back over, click the thing again, go all the way back. I'm like, dude, I am losing my mind right now. Like this is
and you have to like try hard for the extra thing that pops up, like you get the extra boost or something.
It's like one of those things where you have to have constant kind of focus, but it's like it encourages you to have a little bit of focus, but you also always have to be focused because
that's it.
I hate that.
I'll tell you what though, there is plugins these days that literally highlights everything for you, and it's so brain dead now. You've got like the Giant's Foundry helper, and it's just because it highlights when it's rare, when you can't like obviously cool it down anymore. Or
I think the thing is like it came out in the game. Giant's Foundry is in the game now. It's like it's whatever, but I think that the fundamental gameplay could have been so much better, and the vast majority of the player base it's like we can't even see how much better it could have been because like we're so pigeonholed into just being like, oh, all skilling's got to be boring. Let's try to get it over with as quick as possible so we can max. It's like there's no like Hunter. You can like you as a player can actually enjoy Hunter the whole way through. With Giant's Foundry, it just feels like you're just trying to get done with it. Like just get this over with. I hate
it's that. Kind of like I've got this amount of bars, just banging out. I can understand that. Yeah, I mean with Hunter and like doing chinning all the way to 99, it's kind of like you've got that level goal there. You kind of get into a rhythm. It's quite therapeutic with the 3 tick, 1 tick. Yeah. You just kind of roll with it and just enjoy the levels. You get that kind of dopamine from hitting each level milestone.
Well, but yeah. Let me ask you about forestry. What are your thoughts on that? Have you done much?
I did it day of release, and honestly, as a day of release piece of content, I was quite unsure of how I was going to think about it. But involving everyone, it was actually quite fun. It's just straight away there were like activities which you just wanted to avoid, like that B one on the release. Oh my god, we were just running to avoid that as soon as it spawned. We were like, guys, do not bring these B sticks. Screw this event. Like it was horrible. Forestry overall though for me, honestly, like for woodcutting for me is a skill I only do if I want to AFK. Like, I would have set it redwoods or something. But making it more interactive, I mean, I guess it works. Like, I probably wouldn't go out my way to do forestry out of just AFK woodcutting. I'm more of a kind of, in the background woodcutter. But yeah, I don't know. I think it makes the XP faster. Some people are going to be unhappy about that. It kind of devalues, the fast woodcutting methods like 2 tick teaks a little bit more, or 1.5 tick teaks. Yeah, I mean, on release, it was ridiculous. Like, you could hop around worlds and just literally get so much XP doing the events. It's kind of nice for bringing people together, but it's not going to stay like that for the first, after the first month. It's going to be very died down now. You've got like a dedicated world for it now. That's probably the only where it's going to be, popping. Mm-hmm. Everywhere else, it's just back to normal, isn't it? So overall, it was fun on day of release, but yeah, it wouldn't be something I go out my way to do. Like, I just wouldn't want to sit there and just be like, yeah, let's make woodcutting even more click intense, Like, nah.
Yeah.
Unless I wanted
like
to get more XP.
I'm in that position, and you're probably in it as well, where like, well, especially if you were just playing your main Ironman. I know you're playing like on farmers right now, but like,
yeah,
I have no incentive to do woodcutting. So I have to remind myself, like, I have a bias clearly. Like, I have zero incentive to do this. But at the same time, like, I wish they would have kept, I think my problem is I think they went a little bit just overboard with just overhauling woodcutting as a skill. Like, I would be okay with events in certain areas or whatever, but the fact that it's just all throughout the game
it's
now.
Changed all of it. Yeah, everything's changed. Like, you can cut a tree and suddenly you've got some flower popping up next to you. Like, huh?
Yeah.
What is this?
But I love that they changed like tree mechanics to incentivize chopping with your friends. Like, I thought that was the best part.
That is cool. Yeah.
That was
the fact
great.
that you had to avoid before, and now it kind of feels like, back in the day we had all these bots chopping one tree, and there's no downside to doing it.
Yeah.
It does make obviously old school seem like more alive in some parts, but as I said, like, it's only going to be popping like that in the forestry world.
Yeah.
You'll only go around and be able to see people like that in a dedicated space, I feel.
What about sailing?
Ooh.
What are your thoughts on that?
I am very pro sailing.
Okay.
Let me get this straight now.
So out of the 3 that were proposed, you were more sailing?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I definitely was pretty fair on the other 2 as well. Like, the other 2 did sound like pretty cool ideas. Taming was more like, ooh, I could see this as like a limited thing, but as a whole time skill, I don't know.
Yeah.
Because it wouldn't be summoning-esque as much, but I could see it getting to that point where they could power creep it over the years to where your followers would get really powerful. Mm-hmm. So that for me was off the board straight away. I was like, that probably won't happen. It's a cool idea. But no. With shamanism, that one for me, now that I look back on it, would work the best as like just a core skill, getting resources and that. But I feel like it could turn into a bit of like a herbal or 2 where you're just collecting loads of resources. That, like, as a main, you could probably just buy them all to train the skill.
Mm-hmm.
But as an iron, like, you'd be slaving away at like, mushrooms and all that kind of stuff. So overall, like, I thought it would bring in too much power creep as well with that, because then they'd be adding like augments to armor in that, when they could be doing that with like future bosses and kind of leaving the field open. Because I imagine one of the hardest things to do now as a dev is to think about what rewards come with like a new boss or something. We're getting to a point where there's like no niches left. Where do they go with this? So I feel like saving it for that kind of PVM stuff is nice. So base skill shamanism, yeah, it would work, but I didn't really agree with some of the rewards in that. With sailing though, yeah, I don't know. I've just always been pro sailing. Like I made a video when I was literally 13 of why sailing should be a skill. Like, it's a very old YouTube video. I was on about like, yeah, you're going around the ocean and kind of doing like agility and that. Just very like base ideas and doing like battleships. Because there was a game at the time I played, which was another MMO, which was big on Miniclip, where I found RS, and it was called Puzzle Pirates. Yeah. And like, you could go out. It was a click to move game. You could go out on pillage with your friends and that, and there was like little puzzles you used to do to kind of get your ship to work. So I just kind of latched onto sailing like as a concept like that, and I think they've done an okay job so far with like bringing out blogs and getting more people involved. I think people are way more interested now in sailing than they would have been just seeing the poll when they first announced the free skills.
Yeah,
they're kind of bringing it to life a lot more with like all the artwork and that, and that's something that old school does really well now. They get like the concepts going and they get the videos behind the scenes. So I think it could work. Yeah. There's going to be boring parts of it. There's also going to be like mini game feeling parts of it as well. But I think it could be quite fun. Yeah. I'm very pro sailing.
Yeah. I was initially, when they first proposed them, out of the 3, I actually was pretty excited for taming, but then they actually talked about it, and it was like they had no idea what they even wanted to do with taming.
No. And it was going to be a hard one to balance.
They're so conflicted too, because like the vast majority of the player base like is scared to death of summoning. So taming couldn't ever have any actual impact in the rest of the game. It was just like basically training your little pocket pets. I was like, this is so weird. This is not right.
It's kind of like pet hunting already, but having more perks to it, you know?
Yeah.
I just didn't know which direction it was going to go. Like on release, maybe it would be balanced, but then like, where do you take it after that? How do you tie it in? Yeah. I just thought of it as like Pokemon kind of thing, like just going out and catching these animals.
That's literally what it felt like. So I eventually just completely converted to team sailing, and I'm excited for it as well. So yeah, but you're right.
What's like going to be the most exciting aspect for you with sailing though? Is it like the kind of exploration, or it's the random stuff on the ocean?
I would say it's definitely the exploration. I'm hoping, even though I'm an Ironman and I know this probably would have like zero effect on me, I would love it if they were to come out with PvP sailing.
Oh, they totally will. They'll make it happen somehow.
Yeah. If they do that, first of all, like they have to do it well, because like they have to understand you have a completely fresh slate to make balanced PvP and to write a vision of what you want this to be in the future as well. Like you could perfectly balance this if you really tried. And that is so exciting to me. Like if there was sailing wars with your ships out in deep wildy waters, and there's like
that would be sweet.
Like PvP battles out there, that would be so sick.
I'm trying to think how they could balance it in a gameplay perspective though, because you can't really just have like, okay, so the core RuneScape obviously attack mechanics is just like clicking on each other and hoping for damage, right? I can't really see that happening with ships. That would look so clunky and weird, just having two ships kind of next to each other, firing like cannons and that. Like, what? I imagine it could be like, okay, I'm going back to Puzzle Pirates with this, because when you used to do these battles with other ships on like the ocean, you used to have like kind of a grid system, and you'd have to take it in terms of moves to kind of move your ship into position to fire a cannon at someone. So it's like very strategic. You only got like a certain amount of moves per, and you had to be like very lucky to where you would move your ship to hope that would line up with theirs to fire cannons and that. I feel like they could go that direction with this to make it kind of tactical, kind of like battleships-esque. But then when it comes obviously to the PvP aspect, you could just board each of the ships and just do what you would normally do, like, you know, tribrid, hybrid, or whatever. But
yeah, I'm like thinking, okay, so in my head, they've already decided that sailing, you can move on your ship as your character, and you can also move your ship at the same time, which I think is great. I'm glad they decided to go down that road.
That's a really cool mechanic, yeah.
I
think
up
the engine team for that.
And I'm just thinking, okay, because I was also thinking of tri-briding. So like you could tri-brid and also move your ship and have cannons and whatever. But then I was thinking, you know what would, like, this is in my head, and this would be a restriction, I guess, but I think this could actually be cooler, is if like on pirate ships in deep wildy waters and PvP zones, you cannot use like I don't know. I was just thinking like maybe you can't even use range or mage. It would have to be like you physically have to board the other ship and attack with melee. So it's like really like classic pirate style. So it's like you kind of have this, I don't know, because the thing that I worry about is just it becoming completely dominant on just maging and ranging the whole thing. And this is like
that would feel very authentic though, like forcing you to do a certain mechanic.
Yeah.
They could literally lock certain parts of the ocean to do that, like PvP zone, and only have like certain styles. So yeah, maybe like shipboarding battles where you have to do that.
Yeah, who knows how it would be, because you are right. Like there's going to be a ton going on, like just with, I would imagine you probably have to repair your ship like mid-fight as well if you're like a cannon.
Yeah.
Who knows? This is something that the team needs to just figure out, but
it's very open at the moment. Yeah, they got to decide like which direction they want to go with this kind of stuff. Because I imagine with PvP battles and ships, that's one of the last things they're going to worry about. I imagine they want to focus on like the course training of the skill right now. This is probably going to be something that's not even released with the skill. It'll be something at a later date. And I reckon it won't even be prioritized, to be honest, because it's just a very hard thing to balance and like which direction you can go.
Yeah,
and they probably mentioned it in a blog, but
that's definitely the way to go. Like wait until sailing's like really just cemented in. Like we're good with how this feels.
Do you think they should tie it in with like the different quests already, like Cabin Fever? Like maybe go back to an NPC and claim sailing XP.
Oh yeah, I think so.
Yeah, keep it authentic. Like that way, it feels it's been part of the game for like, you know, years already. I feel.
Yeah. I think that's the way to go. They could even like go into like past dialogues with a lot of like those pirate quests and stuff, and just make it so it feels like you're actually sailing. Like I'm cool with that.
Offensive.
The thing I really want are Easter eggs. If they could just add like a million different Easter eggs where it truly feels like you're exploring and you're finding shit that nobody else has found, or it feels like that at least, like that's cool. That would be amazing.
I feel like they're very good at that these days, though. Like even with Guardians of the Rift, there's like that SpongeBob reference with like the houses and that. I mean, they've done a lot like that over the years. I feel like even with the Crack the Clue stuff, they could easily hide stuff, and like you'd have to actually find it in that. And maybe after like a month, someone still hasn't found something that needs to be explored. Yeah. That would be freaking cool.
I could
pull it off.
The thing that worries me is like, so I was talking to Mod Ed a couple of weeks ago, and he was just saying like Easter eggs nowadays, with like just how smart the player base is, and with how they're able to like make plugins and stuff, like they can literally see Easter egg. Like if Jagex doesn't do a brilliant job of hiding these things in other code, like basically the wiki team and like other people that are just super into the code, like they find it immediately basically. So
it was like that one where they did with Tombs of a Mascot with the mask. I think it was like a mascot's mask, and like people trying to figure out how to do it. And like I look at the soul for it now of how you actually get that item. I'm like, how did people work this out? Like it's so random. Like you're going around different parts of the game, you're like getting these random items. It's like, huh? How do you get to that point? Like,
I have no idea.
I would not be able to do it myself. I guess when you got that many brains together, though, like you can probably solve it eventually.
Yeah.
And it's so impressive when like Crack the Clues come around.
I know.
And you've got these dedicated discords all coming together and like working out. Like it takes months at a time, but it is impressive.
Dude, those classic Wook streams of him trying to figure out like the first Crack the Clue.
Yeah.
Those are
nature rune.
Dude, he's great. He's in like Photoshop with like map pieces like rotating them. Like this is awesome. Like this is so cool.
I think he developed like a whole program just to kind of map out like certain parts of the map for the clue or something. Like it was some big brain stuff. Very, very impressive. I think that's why Wooks will be one of the GOATs of RuneScape, just because he doesn't really just good. He's not really like just good at the game. He's like an innovator as well. He comes up with these methods, and like you just kind of learn from it. It's like he brings it out from nowhere, just from his like coding knowledge and that.
He's totally a pioneer with his game. Like like you said, he will forever be one of the all-time RuneScape GOATs. Like
he's definitely up there, my top one. Big up Wooks. Big up Daddy Wooks.
I think of like, okay, so I'm just trying to think of like top 5 RuneScape players. Obviously Zezima's got to be up there.
Yeah.
I think
Zezima definitely.
Wooks. I even think Exact. You could throw Exact in there.
Oh yeah, his recent run. I mean, it's not really recent now. It went a while ago, but yeah, that one defense hardcore. Oh,
crazy.
That is so impressive. Just how he could bang out these hard mode TOBs and just make it look like nothing. You got to realize, like, doing deathless TOBs that consistently for a long time is so hard to pull off.
Crazy. And
what do you think of Mutz's current hardcore run as well?
Dude,
what he's achieved.
He is such a gamer. Like,
yeah,
bruh, he has made so many hardcores and he had never gave up. He just kept remaking, and now he has arguably the greatest hardcore account of all time.
100%. Yeah, he has literally like trained himself up to a point now to where he just knows every part of the hardcore mode. You know, he's like on point with the tellies. Like there's clips that you'll see of him having these close calls, but he's just ready to react to like know what's going to kill him. And that's how to play hardcore in my eyes. You need to know how to die in all these different situations in order to know how to get it in that situation, you know?
Dude, the fact that like, okay, so I'm thinking of like his deaths, and then he immediately has a comeback, and I swear to God, within 6 months, he's surpassed everything he's ever done. I'm like, what the, like, how did you even get to this point? Like,
mate. I always feel like when I think of streamers who deserve more recognition, he is one of the ones who do.
Mutz is so underrated. Underrated.
Very, very impressive.
Yeah. He is such a beast gamer. Like, dude, it's like I would never be able to get a Zuck helm on a hardcore. I'd be too scared. Never do that. I could never do that.
You could think about like doing some of the tasks, but when you actually are there doing it, the nerves is unreal.
Yeah.
Because I'll tell you what, I've had some situations on this hardcore group recently where you'll be at like, say, Huntliff with 0 food, and it's a few HP, and you'll just feel nerves knowing that you could get one banged at any time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a very different situation when you're actually there playing it.
Yeah.
It's just, I can imagine him doing that Hydra one, the no pressure one.
Oh my God. Dude, watching.
I couldn't put myself through that.
I was watching those clips of him doing that. Like I went back into his VOD because I wasn't there live, and I was just saying, I'm like, bruh, like you are on like those electrocution thingies that are following him. I'm like,
terrifying.
I am just tense as hell looking at that. I hate it. Yeah.
Just knowing that you can get one hit at any time with one mistake. Like you just have to sit there and practice for the longest time. I imagine that's what the Awaken boss is going to be like if he's going to attempt those.
Dude,
that would be the next big thing, right?
He's going to be attempting those. If he gets Blood Torva on that account, I'm not.
You can't beat it. Like
he is the great. I would literally put him up there with top 5 players of all time. Like,
yes, definitely.
It doesn't matter what. So like, there's always going to be that discussion of like who's actually the best, like who actually has the best skill. It's like it doesn't matter at that point because he has. It doesn't. Like, you can't compare him to a player hypothetically getting to that point because Mutz actually did it. That's the difference. Like, Mutz actually has a Zuck helm on a hardcore.
Yeah,
and
he's been so consistent over the years as well with it.
No, he is just, he's crazy. He is cracked at this game.
You've got to obviously shout out, like, the non-content creators as well with it. Like, obviously, Praisefoot being the first guy to get the Zuck helm as well.
Yep.
Super impressive gamer. It's just, obviously, people who don't get themselves out there with content creation, automatically people are going to think, you know, who they've seen on the screen. They're going to go, okay, this guy's the GOAT because they know who he is. But I imagine the talent we have with like hardcore players behind the scenes, it must be even more insane. Like I could definitely see people doing it, but without having the dedication or the time to put into like, you know, lots of hours, I imagine people getting to that point and wasting all those hardcore hours is probably not worth it. You know,
Yep.
If you're going to go for a Zuck helm, you want to be able to flex it right on a hardcore. So I feel like it's just not worth it to throw away your whole account.
Yeah, I'm still torn between Praisefoot and Mutz right now being like the greatest hardcore accounts. And the only reason
I'm both up there, honestly.
Yeah, like they're pretty equal right now. I mean, Praisefoot's maxed and he has a ton of XP, which I do consider that part of it. It's like there's more risk involved. But if Mutz gets Blood Torva, it's over. Like it's just over. Game over.
To be fair, like I think Jake C got it on his ultimate recently as well. Like that for me is super impressive on an
Jake
ultimate.
C is crazy at this game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely one of the goated players right now in my eyes, being able to do that. I mean, the amount of luck he had on his iron as well, getting all those staffs, you know, I'm just there like, this guy gets a staff every other week. Like,
yeah, he's
like 7+ now.
He's crazy at the game. And you know what? Like I met him in person like a few months ago. He is seriously so fun to be around. He is such a funny dude.
He's got a really fun energy, I feel, on his streams and just gets everyone involved, you know. Just automatic hype when he speaks, you know.
Exactly.
He's got like a very unique kind of feel. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have you ever watched a noob type stream?
Yes. His TOA stuff, oh my God.
He is crazy. Did you know he held all 4 Awaken Boss PBs at one time, just like a week ago?
Yes, I did see the tweet of that.
Bruh.
He's very consistent himself. I mean, whenever I see like a mass TOA going on like 8 people, it's always him at the end carrying this last warden, and he just dodges everything. I'm like, okay, how do you do it? Like,
yeah, he is.
It takes a lot of practice, I imagine, but he's on another level. I think he did like a video, right, when they first brought out TOA, and there was a glitch where you could actually do all of the time invocation as well. So you could actually bump up the level to like 700 and something, I believe.
Yeah.
And he made a video of him soloing all of that. That for me, oh my God, what a video.
So crazy. Like he literally risked it. He got banned for 2 weeks because of it too. I'm like, you're a legend. Yeah. You're a legend.
Yeah. For content creation. And it was actually a very entertaining video as well. Like he did it all with the music and everything. Like honestly, like I hope he does well with his content creation now. Like he actually puts out really good stuff.
Yeah.
I can definitely see him getting bigger.
See, this is like where it becomes unfair because even if you are like, because I would 100%, I would say noob type is way better mechanically right now than Wooks currently.
Yes, definitely.
Obviously, Wooks is like the GOAT when you look at his history of the game, but that's like the unfairness is like, even if you are way better than these absolute GOATs that we all consider, it doesn't matter. Like you have to prove yourself for so long just to make a name for yourself. That's like 6
for me, it's the consistency and being able to come up with ideas out of nowhere. If you're a player who can do the stuff mechanically, but also come up with it as well, that for me makes you like one of the top players.
Because
anyone can replica something after so many like attempts, right? And do like blood tova, but being able to do the tiles and that, and kind of be the first guy to do it.
You got to be more well-rounded for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
What are your okay? So I don't know if you follow Port Kazard on Twitter.
Yes, I have seen some of his achievements as well. Yeah,
he's the one. Let me just paint this picture. He's the one. You might have seen this, you might not have, but he did the fight caves. Don't lose a prayer point. Off task. And did it under the Grandmaster time.
How?
At the same time. He did all three of them at the same fucking time.
Dude, I was so stressed doing that one prayer point one. Like, oh my God. I can only imagine, like, I'm not taking your time in it as well. Like, speedrunning?
He did it in under 26 minutes off task. Didn't lose a prayer point.
It just makes me feel bad at the game, Like, I struggled on the 5K speedrun. It took me multiple attempts. I had to go get the task,
He is so crazy. He is, and the thing is, he doesn't even care because he doesn't even care about the content creation. He'll post some of his achievements on Twitter, but he just doesn't care.
He'll just like come out of nowhere and be like, I've done this,
Yeah.
I think he did a solo next kill as well, right? When it was the red door click, the only player to do it or something.
Yeah, he either got it or I think he did get it. You're right. I can't remember.
But the most impressive thing for me about that kill wasn't the actual kill count. It was how long he was in there. 3 hours for this kill.
That was it.
So
you're right.
You can imagine like how consistent you'd have to stay alive, and all those like red clicks as well. It's just more an endurance test for me. What?
It is. Yeah, he's the one that did the Zuck without ever hitting Zuck. It was all like vengeance and some weird glitch.
Jeez.
Just what is going on?
Like he's coming out with stuff you didn't even know was possible until he does it. You're like, wow, okay, this is a mechanic. Like I did not know you could actually KO Zuck like that. I thought you just died to the ball every time.
Yep.
If obviously you got the max hit.
Yep.
I did not know you could survive it.
He just finds ways to glitch it, and it's just insane. And it's not even like, oh, you found the way to glitch it. Yeah, you cheated. It's like, dude, you have to now sit in there for God knows how long.
Exactly. Like not anyone can do that. You still have to be obviously knowing the mechanics and kind of actually knowing the core stuff that goes on with a boss to be able to do that. Because any other person would try it once, like to tick eat that, and they would just die.
Dude, you remember when Exact was practicing and he was like trying to stack the 4 majors with Jad and like, I'm like, bruh,
just so stressful.
How did you even get to the point where you understood that this is even possible? Like the amount of times you had to fail just to go back and try it again and like to figure out these safe spot tiles.
Yeah,
like,
and you had to make a new account every time because to get at the lowest combat, you have to trade at the account, do Desert Treasure, get Ancients again, just for an attempt. Like
and do a fire cape. And do the fire cape. That's the crazy thing. Yeah.
I mean, I even forget about that. You have to get a fire cape as well on top of that.
It's disgusting. He did
Which
it
means
like
that
11
room would
times.
have to be good too to keep the combat low.
Yeah.
Realistically. You'd have to do like recall and probably tick eating as well just to like minimize the combat XP.
Bruh. That was so, and you know what? This comes down to like the sad part is Afzal. He's another content creator. He did a 39 combat. I'm pretty sure he even did a 38 combat. And he gets no exposure for it.
Yeah.
He's just not as well known. Like it's just publicity.
That's it. That's the only thing I know him for. Just for obviously this Inferno, and I've seen clips of him doing it, and I'm just there like, what? Like, what just happened? Like, where did this clip come from?
Yeah. So we got like these hidden gamers that are out there doing incredible stuff, but that's just not how. That's not how the human. It's not how human like brains work. We just go to like whatever's the most. It's popular.
Whoever's in the limelight.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's whoever's got the exposure, who's got themselves out there. But at the end of the day, there's probably tens of more gamers who can do exactly the same thing. They just don't want to obviously get the recognition, or they just don't have the time to really dedicate to it. That's it. I mean, at the end of the day, like content creators can obviously play more, which means they've got more time to do this kind of stuff. It just comes down to obviously being able to put out the content, in my eyes.
Yep. Yeah, you got to be able to market it.
Exactly. Yeah, it's all about getting yourself out there and marketing it as well. Yeah. Word of mouth, I feel. As soon as one person sees you does it, and they're like, "Yo, post it on Twitter or something."
I want to go back to when you kind of first started streaming.
Nostalgia.
When did streaming first appear to be like lucrative enough to go full time with it? Was it pretty quick?
Oh yeah, it was probably like a year in, because the first 6 months I was obviously just playing my Zerker. Back then, old school was very simpler times. You just kind of did PKing all day, did the bosses that were available, and that was about it. It was like very kind of simple grind. I just kind of sat there and killed 10k blue dragons, and for some reason people tuned in and kind of chilled alongside me just to train my range up. But when it came around to Ironman mode, that's where you start to see the growth. It was just unreal because it was a new game mode. People wanted to see who was furthest ahead, and for some reason my Ironman like year one was just spooned on everything. Like God Wars was just insane, like completing that really, really fast. I remember when we got the first sigil as well, doing those long kills. That was kind of up there. It was just wild. So alongside obviously doing that on content creation, a lot of people are going to hear it, see the clips, and it just, extends your channel. And it's a big word of mouth thing. Like, I've got to give props to, other content creators like G.O.A.T, who just, was just always shouting me out and always giving the recognition, saying like, this guy's content and that. And that's why I'm always very grateful to, people at the time who really tuned in and kind of talked about my content, because I wouldn't be in the position I was now for them. So I'm always very grateful for that.
What did your parents think when they started seeing like your stream popping off?
They're very open-minded. They, as soon as I told them like I wanted to drop out of uni and kind of do content creation, they were like, wow, as long as you know what you're doing. That's the famous line. As long as you know what you're doing. But, as soon as I start seeing the numbers, that's it. They're like, fair enough, you're doing something that you enjoy. I'm very, very happy for you, At the time, I was doing a degree in games development. I feel like if I would have progressed that, I maybe would have been on the other side. I maybe actually would have been at Jagex.
Wow.
Kind of doing like kind of doing the games development and the 3D modeling animation kind of stuff. Building the models. That's something I was very interested in when I was younger. I did that throughout college. I was very big into my art when I was younger. But for some reason, like on the side, I just always liked making quirky little videos, even for like my own eyes, and just content creation as well. It just kind of became more of a passion for me when I did streaming, because it was just a whole new thing for me, and just being able to take it like and enjoy it with other people was just amazing to me. Like I just loved it. It was just such a joy to go live every day and just being able to express your enjoyment for the game as well. Just do all these grinds alongside other people who were doing the same thing.
When was the best year of streaming for you?
Oh, I'd say, I mean, if you compare it to these years now, like the years we're living now are just incredible as well, because it's like new content with the farmers that I've just never been used to doing with the group aspect. I'm very used to doing obviously like solo gameplay, kind of planning out the goals and just kind of sticking to a grind. But with this farmer stuff now, it's just so fun to bring all these communities together and really knuckle down and just enjoy the game. Like it's just a whole new fun for me. I think if I were to compare it to a year when I was doing my Ironman only, like 2015, 2014 was like big years. There was like a lot of viewers. I remember like just having 4K viewers, just doing like a medium clue grind. I was doing like some sort of, doing like some Bandos cloak grind. And for some reason, like just everyone just enjoyed tuning in and just seeing these clues every day. So that was a big peak for me. So I would say I'm favorable to more the years now though, because it's just so consistent,
Yeah, it's so there's actually another question I have on that. So do you enjoy making new accounts or being a part of the farmers and creating an entirely new like thing with the group, or would you rather continue to focus solely on your main Ironman? Like, how do you feel about that?
I think my main Ironman's got to a point now where it's kind of easier to set it aside, because a lot of the goals that I initially did some myself are kind of done. At this point now, I'm doing like pet hunts and I'm trying to maintain obviously new items that are coming out. So when I do go back to my Ironman, it will be focusing on the Desert Treasure 2 stuff. That's the only items we currently need. But no, I think with hardcore group Ironman, because it's such a different mode to Ironman and a different feel, it's actually quite fun to remake. Whenever I thought about making a hardcore, I just knew that if I would die on it, I'd just have like another Ironman, which would be useless. And it was demotivating to do that. For me, from a content perspective, like just sticking with my Ironman and doing these grinds that I enjoy and actually having the enjoyment there that people could see would make it better anyway. So I feel like with hardcore group, being able to have like that different feel to it is definitely what makes me want to play it. And I super get into it. Like not making a new account for that many years and then suddenly doing one in 2021 when it first came out. Oh, I was so addicted. And I am now the second time round, you know, like because you've got that new like leveling up variant I'm not used to doing on like a maxed Ironman.
And you got you got that like friendly competition within your team as well. Like he was gonna.
That's it, yeah. And recently we had obviously Oda's team, who were kind of friendly competition as well. Like a lot of people would jump between the streams there and be like, "Oh yeah, they've only got 2 lives left now," or "Oh, what's gonna happen?" You know. So yeah, I love that kind of friendly competition. It's great. It's really really good for all communities that are taking part as well.
Would you
definitely not an opportunity you want to pass up?
Would you ever want to have a new game mode come out, like a new, like entirely new mode, like something similar to Ironman that comes out that's completely fresh?
I mean, where do you go from this point though? I can't even imagine what a new game mode would look like because you have to kind of balance it in a way where it would work. Like Ironman, it's such a simple thing like no trading, but it changes so much of the game. And obviously hardcore, you're adding on to that with the no def thing that keeps it interesting. But I don't really know where you could go from there. Like, mode-wise, I think they're just better off sticking with probably the limited time game modes like leagues. Like those are always enjoyable. If you look at a league, like the core gameplay of how it works, it literally gives you goals when you log on to keep you motivated to play. Like you've got a whole task list. That's what RuneScape's all about, setting goals for yourself, being like, I'm going to do this today. And that's like thrown in front of you with this whole task list and point system. Like it's very, very enjoyable whenever I play a league. I feel like that's a direction they could keep going rather than these limited accounts,
That's true. There have been people that have, and including myself, I would love to see a league comes out that everyone is a main account, but there obviously is the fear of that being clan man mode or whatever. But
yeah,
the way in my head to eliminate that, and I'm pretty sure Jagex has already mentioned it, is just to set a certain amount of, this is how you get Dragon Trophy. You get to 50,000 points or whatever. And it's set in stone, so there's not like that odd competition toward the end where like clan man mode is just raising the bar people, further and further. Yeah. So what are your thoughts on a main man league?
I think it would work, but it's just so much easier for Jagex to keep it Ironman because obviously setting the rules is a lot more simple, saying no trading, boosting and that. Because they've probably learned from doing Deadmans and seeing how clans would get ahead that it would become a thing in the league. So they'd have to, as you said, balance the point system to where everyone could get Dragon Trophy. But then does that take away from the hype of going for Dragon Trophy if anyone can get it? That's what you got to think, like, would it work? I think it's very hard to go outside of what they've already done and know that works, which is why I'm thinking a League 4 would be a remake, but maybe just added content. Because I remember when they did Trailblazer, Desert had hardly anything, but now you look at the Desert and it's got so much stuff now.
True.
Like, that would actually be a good pick because back then, the tasks were barely anything. I don't think there was even any Grandmaster tasks. It was just go get like a Mage's Wand or something. Like no one wants to do that.
Yeah, if they remade Trailblazer, that would actually pop off. I didn't even play it, but I know people loved it. Oh,
it was fun, yeah, because you had to pick like a certain combat style to go ahead with. So you could be like an actual mage and feel like you were, a mage in this game mode. Because all of your perks with like your damage and your attack speed all went into this one combat skill. So like you would have to commit to it. And there was like people who were just maging Nightmare. Like think about that, our boss, which is like the most ridiculous mage defense. It was actually like the best in slot damage with like Ice Barrage or something. It was ridiculous. And that's what I love about League. It kind of just throws everything and you just got to like relearn it in the moment with a lot of metas and stuff because of these perks that you get given.
I always love
watching
top of that
people, with the tasks.
I always love watching people do the one tick blowpipe. Just this glitchiest thing you're ever seen.
I think Wooks was the first person to actually get that perk. I think it might have been in Trailblazer. And I just remember him putting on darts on his face, just dropping because of how ridiculous it looked. Like the animations would just bug the hit splats for us. Oh,
you literally just have to keep standing still because you don't want to lose ticks. So you're just standing.
It was very fun. That's why I had to go range. I was like, I'm not passing up the opportunity to use this blowpipe. Yeah. Like it just looks too fun.
That's awesome. Yeah, they'll probably. They're definitely going to continue with leagues. I wonder if they're ever going to do like a King of the Skill again, or any sort of like just mini sort of idea that's not that big of a deal and doesn't take that much dev time, but something that can just be fun for a month or even like 2 weeks.
I think It might be to do with the higher ups though, who are like pushing certain modes. That's the reason why we got like that fresh start world. You know, it's probably just to do with being like, okay, what's going to bring players into the game? What's going to bring in the memberships? You know, it's like something that's not much dev time, but also is quite fundamental for business. I feel is a mindset for them with a lot of things. So like a king of the skill, yeah, I mean it could work, but it's just, is there enough interest around it? I feel like with that kind of mode, it's for players who already know the skills well.
Yeah.
And are going to compete rather than bring in new people.
Yeah, it wouldn't have to be a king of the skill either. It could just be like any sort of just
like a new
thing.
game mode.
Like who can get the like what was the thing that they did with it was like you were only allowed to have like 24 hours or what was the thing where it's like you were grinding for the most amount of total or wait, was that king of the skill?
That was king of the skill.
Holy
that
shit,
was king of the skill. You had like a countdown because I remember I did the hunter skill for it, and I remember it counting down the amount of hours you had to go, and I was just doing this free tick chilling the entire time, keeping all the gameplay. Like you'd go for a toilet break, be like, right, log out, keep my playtime there.
Okay, King of the Skill was awesome, but it was awesome because of the people going for total levels. That was sick.
Yeah. Okay, that was the most impressive part. Yeah, if you did one skill, you didn't really experience how the mode, but the people who planned out their route, oh my god,
that was
you have
sick.
to be, you have to write it down to really get a good score on that.
Dude, I'm not gonna lie.
Did so well.
If they came out with a King of the Skill that was like just it was all about total levels or something like that. I'm trying to think. Like there's something really addicting and satisfying about somebody just really being able to execute amazing game knowledge in a short amount of time and just being like, how do you just mark out the most efficient path and actually execute it like perfectly? Like that shit's incredible to watch as well.
That's why the quest speedrun is quite impressive as well, because people who rush like barriers clips on that. I think EVscape did it again recently where he's like beating his time over and over again.
Oh yeah, he's crazy.
Even that on a main, having to like do all the skills and like obviously the efficient quest route as well. Because I imagine with that kind of thing, you have to do like multiple quests at once, right? To kind of
you
be the most
have
efficient.
To. You're right.
Like when you're running to a different part, you'd start a new quest and then progress that on the side. Yeah, like for me, I would just be too overwhelmed and be like, "What the hell am I doing now?"
No, that's
just
not
so much easier
me.
following the quest guide. No,
absolutely not for me. But it's always fun to just watch like the cracked gamers doing that kind of stuff.
Yeah, with a King of the Skill, it would make such good content as well, because on YouTube you could like talk about your run after as well and just kind of all your thought process to why you went like a certain path. And I think that would be super interesting for people to watch, and might actually like teach people like certain skilling methods and routes as well. They'd be like, oh, this is actually a thing, you know?
Yep.
Because remaking accounts is a very popular thing. I reckon people are always looking for that kind of stuff. It would definitely get you out there if people were producing like the best way to do this. And I think that's why I think OSRS's guides have always been popular with like new accounts, because he just comes out with these such efficient routes, and it's just very, very impressive to read.
Yeah, I this is like the stupidest idea. I doubt it would ever get like any like real people like wanting to do it, but I was always thinking what would be funny is a Benjamin Button mode where everyone starts off maxed and you try to lose as many levels as possible. There could probably be like
possible.
there would be XP multiple. So basically what it is like you're 99 and you like, for example, like you could do arty agility, but as soon as you hit level 89, like you couldn't do it anymore. So you have to like lower your stats to as low as possible.
So it would get slower. Oh, the mindset you'd throw it off so the XP would get slower over time. Oh god.
And the crazy thing is like with Slayer and stuff, like you could literally just completely block yourself from doing Slayer if you were to like focus on combat for some odd reason and still have 99 Slayer, because your DPS would continually just lower and lower and lower. So the only way to make it fun would to be like I don't know, maybe have like a 10x multiplier or something. But just see.
Yeah, you'd have to do XP multipliers for like a limited mode.
Yeah, see.
They mentioned a mode as well. They mentioned something with a league where there'd be like random skills which would rotate, and it would train an XP of a different skill. So say you'd be doing Woodcurn and suddenly you'd be doing Slayer, and it would like rotate every day, and like you'd have to figure out which skill was which.
Oh, that'd be crazy.
That would be so weird. Like it would just throw you off so much. I can imagine just out of the way leagues would be the most fun. There's something I'm used to.
There's so many ideas, and like people were even saying like for a league, like you could have what's that thing where like it's like a randomizer where like they would randomize items in stores and stuff, so you could go to like certain shops and just see like a random Dragon Warhammer or something you could buy. Just where they completely randomize, like you're chopping a tree and instead of logs,
Yeah.
you get like chinchampas or something. Like that would be crazy.
Oh god, like how would you even like work out which route you were going to go with that though? Like
I don't
it'd be
know.
such an RNG mode, wouldn't it? Like, oh, I'm just going to do this woodcut, hope for this hammer to drop on the floor. Like, is it more worth to do this or do thieving? I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. They have just unlimited ideas though, technically, if they wanted to explore them.
I say it just depends what the game allows. I just imagine these days they've got a lot more like engine capabilities to do this kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like we've just seen that with even just recent content. Like bosses now running at you now. It's like scary. Like
Oh yeah.
that kind of stuff. That kind of stuff's kind of scares you what they could do with like future stuff. I'm just like, okay, so basically I was killing the Whisperer, right?
Yeah.
And I thought I'll try the Awakened version when it comes out. And I enter this Awakened fight, and there's a mechanic where you obviously have to freeze it when it freezes you in place. You're like, okay, Uno reverse, I'll freeze you. But the boss starts running at you in the Awakened. I'm like, bro, this is like throwing me off. Like the stuff they can do with that kind of stuff is just crazy. And like,
It's cool.
Yeah, the mechanics now and the animations all come together so nicely. Like, just the production level is just up there.
Yeah.
I love it so much.
It gets me excited for like the future of PVM, like the fact that they have all these tools and they're exploring new options, like the mechanics of the awakened orbs. Like even though some people might not like how that works, it's cool that they're experimenting with things that just are out of the blue.
That will keep it like a pretty expensive item because people will want to attempt it a lot, and people obviously worse at the content are going to spend more money doing it. You've got like the elite gamers who can do it in a few tries, but you know, for the average player who wants to get Blood Torva eventually, it's going to cost you, you know?
Yeah.
It's going to be up there. What do you think about Awakened Orbs being tied to the Zook Helm, though, on an Ironman? Like, Ironman having to get at least 1 kill of each. Do you think that should be a thing, or
it just
should maybe keep it away from that?
It just depends.
It is an impressive thing.
Because it would be like I think there's an argument for and against. I think for is, like, they've done it sort of with the Fang, where, like, the TOA, don't you have to do a 500 TOA?
Yeah, you have to just clear 1 500 to get the Fang kit, It doesn't really cost you anything to do, so it's kind of a very different thing from the orbs.
That's right.
I feel like you'd have to have a main account to practice on there to save the orbs in your iron, because they're not exactly that common. Like, to get enough attempts on average to train from scratch, like, you would have to get a lot on an iron. It would take you a lot of hours to do it. I think by the time you completed all the drops of the content, you still wouldn't have enough.
Yeah.
Unless you had prior experience.
Yeah, it's kind of a tough one. I would say there's an argument for each. I personally, I would say just do it. Just add it onto it, because then it's just there.
It makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah, and it's Grandmaster.
It is hard content. It does feel very Grandmaster.
But at the same time, it's not just something you can keep continually jumping into over and over and over.
Yeah. That's one thing I do like about CAs. It's you can do them and get really good at like the speed runs, and then once it's out of the way, it's done.
Yep.
But yeah, when you're like tied behind an item that you have to go grind first, I feel like I'd get really frustrated. I'd be like, oh, I was so close to doing it. I now have to go grind another orb and then maybe fall out of, the rhythm I was in. So that's my only worry, really. Then
again, though, I think we kind of look at it a little bit differently, because we already had max gear when CAs came out. Yeah. You got to remember those people that want to go for Zuckhelm and maybe don't have a T-bow or don't have a scythe.
Exactly,
You literally have to grind 500 hours just to start doing the tasks.
So you know what? That is a good point of thing. Yeah, I didn't think about it that way, actually, yeah. For some tasks, you kind of locks behind those big items just because of the speed runs, yeah. It's very true. Very, very true.
Yeah, so I would say that's fine. You know what? I will just say, like, this is my selfish opinion. I really wish that CAs wasn't just a continuous upkeep. It's just like it's just like I want the Zuckhelm, I've got it forever. But then again, it's like that with the quest cave and achievement. It's like, I've done it, I gotta do it again. Oh, it's just one more quest, why not? Yeah, it definitely keeps you playing, but there's just something about like that miserable feeling of logging in and not being able to use like your stuff again. Like, god damn it, like that's it. Yeah It's fine. No, I feel like the only way. I feel like with CAs though, most of the time when a new boss comes out with CAs, you can probably knock them out in a day, realistically. Yeah, next it's only the ones where you got to find people I hate, like the 8-man TOA one. You got to find gamers to do it. Yeah, it's like, oh, should I just go to like a boosted Discord at this point? Like, like, do I just pay someone to come with me or what? Like, literally. Because that kind of task, like you do one run, say if you fail it, someone's like, I gotta go now, and then you gotta find another person. Yeah. And then it's like, oh, Dude,
it's just pain.
Shout out Mulgo Kirby. He was literally just streaming, doing free
what a
8-mans. Just,
yes.
How are you... Like, dude, that looks so tilting to just do all day. And he was just giving them out for free. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's like Tyron who does like the learner TOB all day. Like he's got like 7,000 TOB kill count now, but he just enjoys the learner aspect, like getting people into it. And I find that really cool because TOB is one of the hardest content to get into.
Totally.
Like an average new player who's like maybe just started up.
Yeah.
Because you just can't find people unless you're already part of like a community or a Discord. It's just very, very hard.
Yeah, you see the 0 KC and you're like, nope, not bringing you.
Yeah, exactly. Because you just know what's going to happen. You're like, we're going to wipe, you know, because it's so punishing when you get to the end and people are starting to drop like flies.
Yeah.
You don't want to put yourself through that. But yeah, he's doing a great thing just educating people and getting people up there.
What do you think will... Well, here, let me ask. What are your thoughts on Raids 4? What do you think it'll look like? Do you think there will be invocation system? Do you think it'll be more like TOB?
It's really, really hard to go away from invocations now because invocations makes it so balanced because you can just start off with the same content and obviously the difficulty is low and then work your way up. And I really like that because now you've got the two ends of the spectrum. You've got a piece of content that everyone can do and also a piece of content where the high level players can really push themselves and get rewarded for doing that as well. And it's such a good system. Like I was such a fan of it as well and how customizable it was. And obviously there'll be a meta with it, which invocation you put on in the end, and like for the best like purples and that. But yeah, I just love how like open it is. It just makes the other raids now just feel, especially COX, just feel like clunky. Like the whole scouting system, it's like, huh?
That needs to go. That needs to go. Holy shit!
I feel like the next COX update they do is going to be the scouting stuff. But how do they do it? Do they just allow you to straight up pick the stuff that you want to do?
They should. Like the fact, yeah. And the reason I say this is because like, why? There are plugins to make it so you literally know the layout before you've even entered. Like that came out so much like that. Why are we so dogmatic about like, no, we need to have randomized raids? Like just stop with it. Like just let us literally choose a layout and let that just be normal raids. Like I'm sorry, like we've just gotten to that point where it's like it's
been long enough, you know.
Yeah. And nobody wants a random raid. And it's like, bro, these rooms aren't even hard. You just want to get a quick run in. Like, oh my God, if they could just make it so...
certain runs where the points are just so bad.
I know. It's like, yeah, I'm sorry, at this point, maybe even they could even have it like be a little fee. Like,
okay, yeah,
that 50K, 100K, you can set up your own raid. And if you want it to be the fastest thing ever, just fucking go for it. Like, just...
I would save people money though, because right now I'm pretty sure people charge like 2 mil plus for like a world record raid layout.
Yeah.
And even then you'd have to nail it.
Yeah, they do that. I just think we need to break free from the illusion that Chambers needs to be this way for the next decade. Like, oh my God.
Exactly.
Like, please.
It was the first of its kind. It was obviously going to be an experiment. Like, even just 100 mans, being able to do that with like an inconsistent team, it just doesn't happen. Like, there's mechanics in mass raids. Like, whenever I do a 24-hour, we always do a mass raid, right? But the burn mechanic at Ulm,
it's brutal.
If you've got an uncoordinated team with Ulm hitting you 60 basic attacks as well and the burn spreading the entire time, it's just no.
Yeah,
it does offset it from the other raids having that many people, but I don't know.
I was talking to a guy on the cast, and we were talking about like if they were to make some changes to Chambers, one of the coolest things they could make is like not have the reward chest just be this simple basic chest that you're actually looking at before you've even killed Ulm, but make it so you enter into a trophy room similar to TOA. That would be cool.
They could make it so like the floor just falls after Ulm dies or something. You just like in some treasure room.
That's all. Like that alone would be so cool. Actually, build up some like cool hype. I don't know. I think they nailed it with TOA and TOB.
You know, even for me as well. Like I know it's not a big deal for a lot of people, but just having like music for each boss room for me and like TOB just makes it such a nicer experience on like release and that. Even though you're gonna turn it off after like 2 weeks, but the thing with raids is you got like the upper floor music and the lower floor, then you got Ulm. But I feel like it just kind of adds to the content a lot more now when they come out with like a boss soundtrack, even just waiting music now for these bosses, and then you start it and it's like it's just like the immersion of it all just comes together so nice. And that's what I mean about the production quality going up. Like they're just doing everything nail on the head, I feel now, with that kind of stuff, with the animations, the gameplay and that. And they're very open to obviously changing stuff straight away as well when players give feedback.
So I just want to share a few of my thoughts on invocation system in general, with especially in regards to raids. So we saw, first of all, invocation system, fantastic. But
yes, love it.
The problem is now we are seeing like light bearer rings go for like 2 mil. We're seeing fangs just dropping. Like if in order to come out with a raid, you need really, really good items to be rewarding for the raid. But when the raid is incredibly accessible and there's invocations, then those items are just not going to be that valuable. And then people have a problem with it in the future of like, why are these items so cheap? We need to nerf them, or we need to do other things. Like, I would love if the invocation system was added to other things. Like, I don't know. This is just my idea. It's like, we need to come out with a raid that's like, and I know Jagex won't do it because, you know, there's too much, like the accessibility and everyone getting to get involved day one is so important for them as a company. But it's like, bruh, like a raid is a raid. Like I thought raid were like end game where like you go in like TOB and it's like, holy shit, like this is insane. And the hype
being able
around
to complete it. Yeah.
It's just
TOB release was nutty, wasn't it? Because like you had 2 days of people just attempting it.
Yeah,
you'll never get that again. I feel because they're trying to, you know, compete with players who can actually.
Maybe
manage, you know?
There's been like a few discussions on like, okay, what if there was an invocation for a raids 4, for example, but the first week only has, you know, the expert mode or what, or like the base mode where like you go in and you don't know what to expect instead of just going in
like the awakened bosses. Then like they've released those after, right? Those were the harder versions, I guess. They wasn't on release.
I mean, I'm surprised how quickly they came out with those awakened versions. Holy shit, I thought it was gonna be like a couple months.
I know, same. I was like, oh wait, they're coming out tomorrow. Okay, I've got a few orbs stacks. I mean,
that was crazy.
I read the news post and I read it as, you better stock up your awakened orbs because we're going to bring out these eventually. I was like, oh, I'll have loads by the time it comes out. But then, they got them out very, very fast indeed.
Yeah,
I feel like with the invocations though, I feel like they really did screw up like the rates of the drops, because you obviously mentioned the light bearer being like cheaper now.
Yeah,
and Fang going down. I feel like it was just fundamentally making the drops too easy to obtain at these lower levels. It should have really kept like the big items like higher invocations, like locked it to it. And even making it so you can get stuff from entry mode just doesn't make any sense to me. Like you can't at TOB in entry mode. Why would you at TOA?
Yeah, that's a good point. In hindsight, I even think like what would have been way more balanced is making it so like, because the invocations go up to 600, make it so 200 is normal mode and 400 is expert mode.
Ooh, okay.
Like this is obviously in hindsight, it would be impossible to like know, because if it was on release 400 was expert, Jesus Christ, that would have been way too insane. I feel like, but looking at it now, I'm like, dude, almost everybody that's comfortable with TOA is running 400s, and that would be a good benchmark of this is actually expert mode.
It's just so hard to judge on release though, because I think tough. Jagex underestimate players. How good they can get after you do 1,000 hours. And obviously this content's been out for a year now, so you've got to kind of expect them to be doing 400s constantly now. I feel like that maybe was what they were seeing people doing. But the purple rates are just so good when you get to those levels. It's just like I had days at 400s where you'd get like 4 purples in a day solo. It was wild, and I can see why the prices are what they are. Yeah. It's even just a normal loot as well, like the amount it increases it. You know, you go up to a 400, you suddenly get like 33 toe flax seeds in an eye, and you're like, well, I'm sorted for next. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
It's funny how they kind of do that. Like I mean, obviously they do it for a reason, where they see what supplies people are really craving, and then they just shove it in the next drop table. You know what? Those Desert Treasure 2 balls are dropping a lot of javelin pieces, and I'm like, bro, they're gonna buff the ballistas soon, like 100%. They're gonna come out with new ballistas.
I've always hoped that, because it's been a very, very PvP-esque weapon for the longest time, and I feel like they could do something more with it. It kind of feels like the God Sword of range, but at the same time, it's just, you've got all these other really powerful range weapons that you'd rather use instead, so why would you ever want to pick it?
Ballista.
It's just... it's such a cool weapon, isn't
it? They're really cool. One of the things they could do is... this is kind of redundant, but I was just thinking, you know how like a cannon shoots out cannonballs and it's a stationary thing? Imagine you could just have a stationary ballista.
Set it up on like some sticks.
Yeah.
One of those barricades in Castle Wars and slap it on top of that.
Exactly.
You're like, come at me.
Yeah. I don't know. I could see that, but that would again be redundant. They're both range weapons, and it's like.
I'll tell you what, they're going to come out with an invention skill in the future now, and they're going to make it so you can make a ballistic cannon now. They're just going to take that idea.
That would be cool. Thing is,
that's how you make runic items.
The cannon literally makes no sense thematically. It's so odd. Like, imagine literally shooting cannonballs. People.
That was definitely an idea that the Gal brothers came up with. Like, this will be cool. Let's just put it in. It's a new thing, you know. Because back in the day, if you had a cannon, like, you were cool. You know?
Oh, you were so cool. You were so rich.
And your dragon skirt with your cannon.
The people at Cami Bank, I'm just imagining the gnome scarf, the white cavalier, the whip.
Oh, yes.
And the...
was it the Legends Cape as well?
Yes. Legends Cape, whip, and then... I'm trying to think. They had I'm pretty sure an Obby shield. That was like...
Obby shield, or maybe it was like a Zami book or something. I feel like the books were quite favorable. Oh, I'll tell you what, though. Release of Old School pages were absolutely ridiculous on release. They were like 2-3 mil a piece for Zami pages and that.
Crazy.
These days, like, clues, you open it, you're hoping for some rune items for some Hulks. Like, because you ain't going to get anything from the main clue items, especially elites. Those cosmetics are just nothing now.
Starting in 2015, I like immediately got into medium clues like the first month. I was like, these sound fun. I literally pulled Ranger Boots, my 3rd and 6th medium. Yeah. And I was very nice. I was broke. Like, I was literally broke. I pulled Rangers. They were 19 mil at the time, 2015.
That's like a miracle.
Dude, it was insane. Like, and then I pulled another pair and they had already shot up like 2 mil. So I literally made 40 mil within like a couple days. I was like, bruh. Like,
tell you what, I can see why you've done so many clues. Like, you were just motivated since then. You were like, I'm a clue fanatic now. Dude, this is my thing.
If you get lucky, and I've also gotten lucky on Gilded and Third Age. Like, I'm sorry. I could definitely understand people hating clue scrolls if they've never gotten lucky.
Oh, I love them. I am such a fan of them.
When you get lucky on clue scrolls, like, that itch to do more and more, it like keeps growing.
Yeah. I have a really cool way I obtained the 3rd Age axe on the iron. I was doing woodcutting, just AFKing, and I got a nest. And obviously, it's elite clue nest. Now, elite clues, obviously, usually, you don't get the 3rd Age axe roll, because it's master clue only. So I get a mimic on this, and obviously, just out the blue, there it is, a 3rd Age axe from the mimic. I'm like, wow. I've seen the price of it recently, and I'm like, holy crap, this item is actually real nice to get now. I think it's up to like 1.7 bill now or something. It was like 300 mil.
Because you can make it into a 2-handed axe.
Yeah, and the 2-handed axe looks so badass, whereas the normal one is pathetic. Like, the normal one looks so bad. Dude. It's like the same as a rune axe. They should make it like bigger. I don't know.
I'm actually very jealous of your 3rd Age axe. That thing is...
Oh, I wasn't too bothered about it before, but now I'm just like, this thing's badass, you know? I'm just at that thing now where I'm like, do I build it into the 2-handed axe, or is that going to devalue it? I don't know.
It could devalue it, but you got to remember, like, wait, does that make it untradeable?
It doesn't, no. But you can't revert it after.
Oh.
But then again, you got to think, not many people are going to make their axe. That would be one of the only 2-handed 3rd Age axes in the game.
Bruh, you have to do it.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. It does look sick. And to be fair, it would make it useful because I think it's like making woodcutting more AFK, right? Where it like consumes the logs or something. I would actually probably use it.
Dude, that I'm jealous of that. So you have what do you have? A 3rd Age range top and an axe?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, 3rd Age range top was from a random hard clue back in like 2015. That was like the first time I ever got it.
Okay.
Very out of the blue. I was very, very surprised about that.
Sexy piece. Yeah, I love that piece.
It's just now wanting to get the legs as well, you know, but it's just impossible to do, like, specifically.
Dude, so I have the robe bottoms, the plate body, kite shield, nice. and van braces, goddammit. But
I'll tell you what, though, having 2 melee pieces, though, it's so sick.
It's cool. Dude, so I'm just like, I'm like with you with getting a range bottoms. I just need a plate legs, plate skirt, or a robe top. If I get any of those 3, I'm looking hella sexy.
That's it. Your fashion scape for life.
Yeah, literally.
Wearing it everywhere.
I know. I want it so bad.
Do you think they should do like an item? They did it recently with forestry where you could like add your fashion scape to the lumberjack outfit, I'm pretty sure.
Yes, they should.
Do you think they should do that for other stuff as well?
Dude, I think Gentle Tractor was the original person that was talking about trinkets putting into your ammo slot. Where you get all the benefits of the skilling outfit. You shove it in there, and you can rock your fashion scape wherever you want.
I'd be so down.
That's the way you should go about it, I think.
Because the main part as well is it's like you don't want to wear like this really heavy, clunky armor when you're running around wasting stamina because it just weighs a lot when you're skilling in that. So if it like reduced all of that and just made it cosmetic, and you could take it out of your trinket whenever you want, that would be sick. I'd be so down. Although I'm a big fan of the concept they did with the combining the outfits with graceful as well, like making a unique, like farming graceful or lumberjack graceful. That did look sick. I saw some concepts on Twitter a while back. They were doing that. I think that was like for like a game jam project. That looked really cool.
Yeah,
it's like kind of switching it up.
One of the things they need to address as well, and it's been addressed, but nothing's happened yet, is just run energy in this game in general.
Yeah.
Like
weren't they thinking about actually reworking agility to where it would be not so much on the run energy anymore? I don't know. I can't remember what the concept was, but it was like a complete overhaul.
Yeah, there's
agility in a nutshell.
There's been a bunch of different ideas. Like one of the best ideas, at least in regards to free to play, is making pubs regen your. This is again the completely irrelevant for any.
That happens, right? That's in the game, I think. The pub thing.
Is that a thing now? They talked about it. No way.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you can. Yeah, because they added in the game stuff in there as well, like all the rune link and that into pubs, so you could hang out there and regen your run energy. I think that's a thing.
When did that happen, huh? I thought that was just a rumor.
No, I think they added it with the addition to the game stuff in there as well to kind of make people go there. But obviously, it doesn't happen. Unless I'm completely lying right now, but I'm pretty sure it's in the game. I'll have to go test it.
Yeah, now I need to go test it. Yeah, that's interesting. There's like... It's just tough because you start off one agility and your dude like literally runs for 3 seconds, then he's walking the rest of the time. It's like, that needs to be changed, I feel like. And who knows?
It's just not fun.
You're right. It's really not. Like nobody wants to
Is it walking. A problem though for a main? Like if you're a main, you could just buy the energy potions at the start. It's just as an iron, obviously you have to train the herbler. Like stamina is so out the way when you first start, and then when you get to that point, you can never stop using them because it's just so addicting.
Yeah,
I feel like you kind of get used to walking around at the start of an account. That's just from my experience of recreating an account recently. It's like after a week, you're kind of used to walking again, and you forget about running.
It's true. It's true.
Your mindset changes, you know. When you're used to doing it all the time, I can understand. It's like thinking going back to that is like no, and I think that's what put me off making new accounts. It's like ugh, I've got everything, you know. It's like why would I just stick with this?
Yeah, who knows? Like, I mean, again, like this does not affect me. I guess in my head, I'm thinking it's a bigger deal than it is, but it's,
no, it's understandable though. I could definitely see your point with that. Like,
because I never walk. Weird. Like, I will literally, I'll chug a stam when I'm like 80 run at doing a clustral where I literally will hit my pool over. And I don't even.
I have ran out of staminas. I'm 20 mil agility. Most of your rooftops, I have no staminas. That's how bad it is. Yep.
Oh no. Yeah, you got to go back.
Do you think they should introduce like another way to get stams over them rooftops, or you think it's fine how it is?
Yes, so they were already offering amylase from Sepulcher. I thought that would have been a great idea.
Wouldn't that just like kill rooftops overall though?
The thing is, it won't kill them because rooftops will still be the only way to get graceful.
Okay.
So you can't get graceful from Sepulcher. You could only get it from rooftops. And rooftops the thing with rooftops is like people will still do it because so many people do not want to do Sepulcher because it's just too hard.
Yeah, you do have to focus.
Yeah. So I think giving amylase in exchange for those Sepulcher marks would be fine. You are right, though.
I'd be down, but it's just keeping it relevant. Rooftops will always be done because it's a very different feel. It's like you can just kind of click away once you've learned the course, like very brain dead, you know? It's very nice in the background content while doing something else.
Or who knows? I tend
to do it a lot while watching stuff.
Maybe they could even just come out with another, like, just agility course that's kind of like Sepulcher, but just maybe like a shorter course that's more intense, and that would just be a really fun way, just like, maybe it's just even like a 2-minute course where that's
the good thing, like
only for amylase.
We're playing a game that progresses. Like they could easily come out with something in the future. It doesn't need to be this like this forever, you know. Like I'm pretty sure rooftop agility and stuff like Motherlode Man was all like player design content. It came out like very early into the game, and you know maybe we can move away from it now. To bring out other stuff. That's definitely how a lot of the game works. Either way, you kind of progress and get better methods. You know.
You know what? I was talking to Connor on the Sae Bae cast like a few weeks ago, and he mentioned, what if they were to adjust the animations of rooftop? You know how rooftops are like the glitchiest things ever, where like your dude looks like you're Harry Potter jumping across Canifis.
Oh, or the Alcarid one. You're like hanging on by your teeth.
Yeah, it is. Like, you're literally hanging yourself. Like, dude, if they could just go in there, I know this would be a little bit of effort, but if they could just rework the animations and make them look really cool, that alone would make rooftop agility be so much better.
Oh
honestly.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, I reckon they could pull that off these days. They've got like way better artists.
It's true.
Who could do like animations now. I feel like one of the GOATed artists of old school all time was Mod Ghost. Like him coming out with such cool models. He still does work for Jagged Slave. He's like freelance now, but he still kind of helps with the modeling and animations and that. But yeah, when he started doing stuff like Zora, like you just never seen a boss model like it. I think the only one I could compare it to was Calvat Queen. Like that is ahead of its time. Calvat Queen is such a cool looking model, considering it was made all those years ago.
Yeah.
And it is the second, I'm pretty sure it was the second iteration of it. It used to be like some little dark green beetle bug. But no, I think now they have like all these shadows and the way they can use these low, okay, I'm speaking like a game artist kind of perspective, but the way they can use like this low polygons but make it look very detailed is very impressive to me.
Yeah.
Because of that standpoint of being in that field.
Yeah, Ghost really cool. Ghost was awesome. And the thing is, like, he was continually improving. Like he was even talking about like when he was designing Ulm, he was even like a year afterward, he was talking about like I really should have made it so the head looked more aggressive and didn't move so slowly and stuff. Like he was aware of how to make the art look great.
But it was like the first time we kind of saw something like that. Like so, like even that was just impressive.
Yeah, it was.
You know, from a base standpoint, just seeing it. Never seen another NPC like it. You know, it's 3 NPCs coming together as one.
Yeah, literally.
Very, very cool stuff.
Virement asks, what's the story behind having the username MMORPG everywhere?
Oh, that's a good one. Okay, so you couldn't actually change your username in RuneScape till 2009. Before, the username you obviously made, you were stuck with for life. But then they came up with the concept of being able to change your name to inactive names. And that like really excited me because I was like 2 years into playing. I went by the original name Bunnyscape because my favorite animal was a rabbit, and I just kind of went with that. But yeah, when they released the name change system, they announced it first, and I was like writing this list of in-game kind of places because I wanted to get like a name that was to do with RuneScape, to where if someone would like right-click your name, they'd be like, oh yeah, that's a cool name, because I kind of see that word everywhere. So I wrote down names like Lombridge, like Moon, Sun, just like generic words where it's just like, oh, it's a rare name because it's a word I use, So for some reason, MMORPG was on that list because I think what it was is when you used to play on a browser, at the top of your internet browser when you played RuneScape, it used to say RuneScape, the #1 3 MMORPG. And I was like, okay, well, that's a cool name, it's the genre of the game. And I think it was just the first name that was available when I tried going through this list of names. I was like, oh, I'll just take this one.
Oh, shit.
And I was like 12 or 13 at the time. I just thought it was cool. And yeah, I just stuck with it. I think with Twitch, it was just because it was my in-game name. I just put RS at the end because it wasn't available on Twitch at the time. And I just kind of went with it, because I didn't really know how serious the brand was going to be. I just kind of played it for fun. But yeah, it just kind of became the thing now. So now I am the video game, I guess.
That's so cool. It's weird because this is fascinating because now when I see MMORPG as just a term, I literally think of you.
Yeah, and it's actually great marketing.
I know.
Like everyone who uses the tag MMORPG, it's me. It's like, yep, thanks for the advertisement, buddy. But I don't know. You got to think of it as like, is it too saturated now because I'm with the genre, or does it work? And Twitch did mention that to me when I said to them I want to change my name to just MMORPG. They were like, are you sure? Because when people search this term, and I was like, it doesn't really matter. Like, I only stream RS. I'm in my own little community, like everyone just knows me as Curtis anyway. Like, no one wants to sit there and go, hello, MMORPG. It's just too many syllables. So I've kind of got to the point now where people like kind of first name bases me a lot, even though we haven't really spoke before. I think that's like really cool. I don't know. I kind of like people just calling me by my first name.
That's cool.
It's quite nice.
Damn. Yeah. MMORPG is definitely it's weird because again, like it almost feels like your name now. It feels like the game.
It's just been so long.
Yeah, the game.
I have had it for since 2000. How many years is that? That's like, oof.
15? What's that?
14, 15.
Sheesh.
So yeah, it has been a long time. Yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah, my original name was Sae Bae, and then I just changed it. Well, my Twitch name's now just Sater, which is my first name. Yeah. And
I feel like that's a really cool thing with the partnership system, being able to like change to like a branded name that you can keep for life.
Sure.
And obviously, like your first name is perfect, you know, because
it's one of those things
from like
where
a content creation.
Yeah, it's like one of those things where like I'm very lucky, first of all, to have a unique name where there's no problem getting it.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I was just thinking of like the future. It's like you getting rid of RS. It's like it's not like you need to, but just
No, it just looks clean, doesn't it?
Yeah, just getting rid of the kind of I don't know, making it more clean and making it so you're more of a person now. Like you're just like you could do whatever you want, even though we're still going to play RuneScape. It's like you have that freedom to just you've branded yourself as.
I think the idea was just like keeping it the same as my in-game account because originally my Ironman was also called my Twitch name, which was MMORPG. But then I obviously swapped it from my original account, which was the Zerk at the time, over to the Ironman. And there's a funny story actually. When you change your name in RS with like a rare name, there's actually so many bots trying to snipe your name, and the name MMORPG did actually get sniped from me. I actually did lose it for like a split second. But luckily, there were some people who were investigating at the time of bot sniping names, and there was obviously JMods banning like these band names, and I actually reached out to one of the community mods at the time, and I was like, you know, I think a bot has just sniped my name, and they were like, oh yeah, we've banned them, and we've just obviously returned the name to you. And I was like, okay, I'm very lucky, you know.
Wow.
Yeah. So that would have right there, stream of favoritism. I know.
That would have been so disappointing.
I know.
Literally just. Oh my god, I'd be so pissed off if that actually wasn't a bot. Just got
That's why
sniped.
it's so risky trading names, because there's literally so many bot snipers out there just like place hits and all these kind of names.
See, I have an original hardcore that's named Sater, but I'm still keeping Sae Bae because I think Sae Bae is just too much of a
it's like your brand now, isn't it? Exactly, yeah. It's still cool that you've got that account, though.
Yeah.
Is it still a hardcore, or is it?
It's still a hardcore. It was made literally minute one of hardcore.
Okay, that's pretty badass.
Yeah. So, and that account, by the way, like I remember thinking that account has like 50 days played on it, but it got banned. It got banned like 3 months in or something like that, and it was like, there's no way I could ever rebuild an account. Like, there's no way I could ever get back to where I was because I had like a Dragon Warhammer and like a Fury. And like a DFS.
Long grind.
Like, yeah, you just think of, and then you just make a new account and it just easily surpasses it. And you're like, oh shit, like that account is so newbie. It
surprises me. It's just so fast. Wouldn't you have like the game knowledge of what to do? Exactly. And obviously these days with all the skilling methods and that, like you can get back to it in a point so fast. I'm rocking 1800 total now on this new account in like 3 months, and it's just, I don't know, it just feels like a breeze, you know. You're just kind of playing the game how you normally would, and I think that's just building up the mindset of playing like a end game account for so long. Like you're just used to going for like 2 mil XP just for like high scores and that.
Totally.
When you've got to do it on a new account, it's just so easy.
Even like the idea of maxing doesn't ever seem that crazy anymore. Maxing always seemed so impossible.
It's just like there just wasn't enough methods. Like with mining and agility and runecrafting, obviously the 3 horsemen of maxing, like they're just, the methods were just so monotonous. Like I think I did like mostly double nature runes for my 99 runecrafting because there just wasn't really, because I was trying to think like, how do I do this on an Ironman? Do I want to do lava runes and have like a useless rune that I'll never use, or do I want to like do a rune that I'm gonna be able to use for years to come? And like I don't regret it because I think I was lucky enough to have Zaya Runecrafting come out just at the end of my grind, and I decided to do soul runes. And now, obviously, with the shadow in the game, I'm looking back at that going, go you! Yes! I have all these souls now, and it's like...
Because weren't you actually like upset that you didn't do blood runes initially?
Yeah. And then now the shadow's out, and I'm like, okay,
look who's laughing
it's not so bad anymore, Now we've got like 250k souls to play with. Why not?
Woo.
Sure, that'll last me a little bit.
Yeah, just literally a little bit. Yeah, the charges go fast.
I can't even tell you how much I've spent at like the rune store. I think I must have spent at least like 4 days playtime in the rune store just buying runes. Like Blood runes is just I'm so glad there's like extra methods now with the blood essence and obviously the true blood ultra and that and the outfit.
Dude,
but before it was just it just wasn't worth it.
When I was grinding Nightmare for like 9 months, as soon as I got one piece of Inquisitors, I started using my scythe. So I spent like, and this is my stupidity, even though I don't actually regret it, so I can't actually say it was stupidity, but I would go out to the Zami Mage and I would buy out the entire stock, and the stock prices go from 400 GP to 800. So
it's bad.
The median price was literally 600 GP I was spending just over and over and over.
Oh god.
And bro, I literally spent like 1.2 bill GP on just like raw blood runes.
Jesus. Yeah, I've lost count the amount. I must have been like 400 mil plus, but that's the thing that I'm right now. I'm rocking a max stack on that Ironman.
That's
and I'm
crazy.
Thinking, I'm thinking, is there going to be a time where I actually dip into it and use it? It's such like a relic on the account that I'm like, I don't want to use it.
Yeah.
I want to use it as like a trophy, but do I actually need to? You know, like I've already achieved it. Like, do I be like, as I said, I'm a hoarder. Like, do I actually want to now use it for like other stuff? I don't know.
So
I have to have the right goals.
So you have a max cash. How many platinum tokens do you have?
So that max cash stack is turned into plats, and that's
okay.
the only plats I have. And then I just started a new cash stack.
I see.
But like my new cash stack now is like always low because obviously I just spend that on like runes or anything I need.
So have you got a lot of GP
out? I think I have like maybe 4 slots left to buy.
Okay.
I think I'm at 1,050 right now without the Jagex thing. I think with the Jagex thing, I'm going to be like 1,070. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I
just kind of buy it as it goes along. Oh, did you actually buy it all?
Yeah, I bought it all like a year and a half ago or something like that. Or
you know
like
what? That's pretty worth it because you will probably use up the bank space eventually.
Dude,
like, there's only going to be more items coming out.
I was already at like 1175 or something at some point. I'm like, this is so bad. Like, the more bank space you have, the more you're going to use. And it's like, this doesn't even feel like anything changed, honestly.
Honestly, it's the most annoying point though when you get to that stage where you're like, I have to juggle items now or I can't bang this. It just frustrates me. So just having that extra like 20 there, just not have to worry about it. Yeah. Because then you can be quite lazy, you know. Sometimes your potions get decanted if you don't keep one in the bank, and it's like you can't bank them at one point, or like a grimy herb or something.
And your bank videos, like you would collect like your dragon items and stuff. Like, see, that's impressive that you could even hold all that, because that would be something I would need to fully alch. I just need to alch all this and minimize it to one inventory spot. Just coins.
I think a lot of it's just in the POH now. Like I still do have like stacks of rune items and dragon items in that bank, but I don't know. I guess I just got rid of like all the useless stuff, like stuff I just don't need at all.
Yeah.
Most of it now is just like the main items. That's it. Yeah. It must be the POH and like storage units and that.
Those were nice quality of life updates for sure.
Oh, yeah. Like having those clue stuff, because just having like a steel kite shoot in your bank thinking, do I need this still? Oh, yeah, it's for a medium clue.
That was, dude, stash units were. The time before stash units those were the dark days, man. Like just having to hold so much junk.
Yeah,
so much.
I would rather go out and get the item, like especially for easy clues, where I would rather drop those items and re-obtain them as I get the clues.
Literally,
just annoyed me seeing leather chaps studded in my bank. Like, no, I don't like it.
It's so bad. Yeah, they made some really great changes with those. Like stash units are amazing.
That's one thing that I do love about old school, the quality of life stuff they come out with. Like, I'm pretty sure they do like a quality of life poll like once every maybe like few months now, but they're always so good. I'm just always like, yes. I rarely say no to some of them unless I know it's very game changing, but
most
normally they're quite
really
innocent.
Not. Yeah, and I'm very open-minded. Like as long as it's, I don't know, like I was totally for left click drop. I was totally for like the bank play. Like all these things are really good, I think. Just okay, let me ask you this, though, because Alkin thinks that it's time for bank presets.
Ooh.
What are your thoughts on that? That's where it gets to that gray line.
You know what? You've already got rune-like plugins now that kind of lay out the inventory with each click now. Like inventory layout, obviously you've got like duplicated items to kind of allow you to left-click everything and have your inventory set up straight away. We're kind of already crossing that border, you know? They're like presets. Yes, it would change like bank standing skill into where it would make it faster, but at the same time, I imagine people could already do those clicks. Like it wouldn't be much time save actually using those. It's just a convenience factor, you know? Like for me, one of the best plugins on RuneLite would be the whole bank tags, being able to like gear down for a clue and then gear back up for your Slayer task. Because I get demotivated when like I know I have to gear up for someone else. I'm like, I'll just do it later. You know, I don't want to gear down for this and go and do like a clue because I just can't be asked to gear again. So having that kind of stuff would be nice. I'd be for it, to be honest.
Yeah, I was thinking. I was like, you know what? Even though, you know, there's that little bit of skill you could argue with, like, oh, I can gear up fast, and I spent all my time like making this perfect layout. It's like, dude, I'm actually okay with bank tags or bank presets where you can literally just do a one-click loadout. But this is my personal view, and I've already received some backlash, but my personal view is just let it have a cost to it. Like, let it be, do you want a preset, this will cost 5 mil, or this will cost 10 mil, or something where it's like you're getting gold out of the game, and you're also getting a nice little... I
don't see why that would be backlash. Like, that's
the backlash
pretty much a gold thing.
The backlash is literally people that are like, well, then I'm not going to be able to use it. Like, or like, people freak out so much about having to spend a little bit of money to do. I'm like, oh my God.
Come on, there's like such easy methods to make GP. Like, you go to raids now and you get like a 1 bill item.
Do 4K for a day and you're like set forever. Like, yeah. So I think,
to be fair, as a newer player, you probably wouldn't even need that as much either way because like you have less items, you know. It's only when you get to like high level stuff, really.
Yeah, I think bank presets would be cool, especially if you could get like, I don't know, you know, you spend a few mil on getting a few presets, and then you do have like your certain, maybe you could just keep buying them, or I don't know. I want things to cost money, and I think they did a great job with the bank space where you have to pay money. Dude, you know what I also want? I want a second bank account.
So kind of like another storage thing, like Seed Vault, but like with everything?
Yeah, so it would be exactly where every bank is, but you would right click and just say access my second bank account. And this would only have like 200 slots or something, but it would be a separate thing where if you're doing, for example, like I want to kill 20,000 green dragons or something, and then just have a nice loot tab, it can all go into your second bank account. So your runes and herbs are not being combined into your main stuff.
You know what? I do like that idea, like keeping everything separate. I think it is doable as well because you do have the concept of group Ironman storage. It could just even be a thing like that. But what I'm thinking is why they're not doing it is maybe something to do with like, I don't know, like stress on the servers or something. I imagine probably the reason why they can't go unlimited bank space is something to do with like server loading or something. I don't know. It must be something technical to why they actually can't do it, because these kind of things, like, it's just a no-brainer quality of life. Like, if you're going to do this and make people enjoy the game more, why wouldn't you do it? Yeah, that's the reason why they do accept, you know, RuneLite and all that kind of plugins now, because it's just making it enjoyable. Like, can you imagine playing old school now on release without clients, without all of the quality of life we've got over the years after like 30 quality of life polls? It would be the hardest game mode you could ever create.
It would be so miserable.
Like, think about some of the stuff you'd miss, like even shift click drop. You know, like there's so much stuff that you don't realize. Like
even middle mouse wheel clicking, rotating.
That was the one I was going to say next. That one would be the biggest one for me. I'm so OCD on that. I tell you what, just always using it. Dude, so weird. Like I even forgot the arrow keys even moved the camera because of that. No. Yeah, like I always like nudge it on my cube. I'm like, oh, like it actually still does it.
Yeah, that would be brutal. I'm one of those players.
I should do a league like that,
dude.
the original client league, just you can't use anything, just how old school was, death mechanics and everything.
Pure vanilla mode, yeah, just vanilla mode league. Yeah. Oh my god, dude,
I would love that.
Well, I will just say I'm actually one of those players that's pro old school, coming out with a permanent server that's old school. But my thoughts on it are, let it have all the quality of life we enjoy today, and don't be too restrictive. Mainly, the reason I'm saying don't be restrictive on it is because people will bypass it regardless. Like, people will literally use plugins, so why even try?
We've got plugins these days, yeah.
Yeah, but I would love a really, really old school mode that doesn't get any content updates, where it's just the good old days. And I know almost nobody would play it. Well, first of all, I actually do think a lot of people would play it on release.
On release, yeah. Just like kind of fresh start. It's the excitement of a new like world and high scores. I think it definitely wouldn't stay alive. Like, you look at the Deadman mode world right now.
It's dead.
And that, yeah, you've only got like clans logging in probably to like do battles and that pretty much. Or like the occasional player logging in. You'll probably get swamped by a clan after a while anyway, you know.
Yeah.
They most likely watch new players log in like wolves, watch them train up, like they're fattening them up, and then they just like swamp them and they quit or something, to be honest. That's how that world works. But yeah, it's a cool concept. It's just, it would just be dead, as you said. It's just a nice thought kind of thing.
Yeah. It's just,
I think it would work as a limited mode.
There's something cool about, well, the thing is, like, I think if it wasn't a permanent mode, then it would really be dead. It's like Fresh Start Worlds. Fresh Start Worlds were so dead, I think. Actually, I don't even remember. Were they dead?
No, I think I think they were actually quite, they were popping off, to be fair. I mean,
okay. I don't remember.
I personally didn't dive into them, but they did have like the same kind of, or maybe half of the world's total.
Oh shit! I didn't even know about it. I thought it was dead.
Yeah, but each world did have a little bit. I think it was just because it was a 6-month thing, and like people knew that their accounts were going to go over to the main game. So like some worlds did have like 200 players at a time. I mean, in that sense, it maybe was a little bit more dead, but that's only because you had to make a new account to play it. Like you had to spend new membership. That was the biggest thing, really. But I think just having that like fresh economy was quite cool. The swapping in that.
Yeah. I think part of the reason an old school server would be nice is, okay, so one, you would get all the purists to jump over there. So first of all, the main game wouldn't have to deal with purists wanting no updates to happen. So you'd get rid of that problem. That's a very minor problem. But on top of it, you would get to enjoy what old school had on release, which is no grand exchange. Everyone is a main account, so you can trade everybody. There's no items in the game, so it's just like this fresh start where you can just play as it was back in the day and have bank sales or whatever and just enjoy the nostalgia for what it was.
Yeah.
And
nostalgia is the biggest thing for that, I feel.
Yeah.
That's what makes people play it.
There's something definitely exciting. And like for me personally, like I would literally just be a clue hunter. Like I would go for like hard.
Oh, yeah.
All there would be is
the clue hunters would be so expensive.
Oh, yeah.
They'd be pricey, they would.
I would try to be a mercher as well. I would try to merch like third age items, try to get a full set or something. I don't know. There's just something about having a game mode will never get updated. So it's just, that's what it is. That excites me.
That's why like the old school release was so great, because it was just, everything was so fresh. It's just,
I wish I played then, man.
Yeah. Oh, it was so good. It was such a different experience, honestly. Like it felt like the most authentic as it was back in the day. And then as soon as they did start adding in like Ironman mode and that's where it kind of lost its flair a bit. But then the game was getting better either way, because it was stuff we'd never seen before, and that kind of balanced it out. But in terms of like the nostalgia factor, that's where that became less important, and it was more about now just creating a good game on like a really cool foundation. And I think that's why old school's done really well now, and it's obviously 10 years strong. And probably will go on for like, I don't really see a situation where I can see old school dying at the moment. I don't know how it would die. It won't. It won't. That's it, yeah. Like, realistically, how could they kill it off? Would it be Jagex themselves? Like, they'd have to pull some stunt to really.
The only
it would
way
be like a declining thing.
Yeah, they would have to. Like, I could see this. This is a really like negative point of view, but this isn't to say this will happen. This is to say this is what would kill the game. They get rid of polling, because the community thinks it's appropriate to get rid of polling. And we've already seen that. I'm
surprised they haven't. Like that,
no, I am surprised as well.
Word to that is very, very good. That's a very cool thing they've done. But yeah, that's a good point. Polling would be gone.
When I talk to JMods, like they are aware that even though the polling, well, first of all, they've already decreased. It's like only 70% to get a passing vote now. And they really just see polling as just getting a consensus. Like, okay, do players want this? We can kind of see from the poll results.
You know if an update's going to pass anyway, because it's just good when you read it on paper. Like, I'm always not surprised when there's questions that don't pass, because it's always, you kind of sit there a bit more and you go, ooh, what do I want to vote for this? I'm always like that on those kind of questions, and then they do end up failing. So it's pretty obvious anyway which ones are going to get in and which aren't. I guess sometimes they're quite cheeky with questions and they just put it in there anyway, just to see if it passes.
Yep.
But a lot of the time it just goes under the radar and just fails the vote miserably. I know they've polled like Divine and stuff like 3 times. Failed every time. It got very close one time. I think Sparmac tried pushing it a lot, and it got to like 68% or something. It was like insanely close. I know. I actually voted yes for it as well, because I was like, you know what? Going back to court would be such a meme.
That's true. For you, that would actually be the worst for you, because For me, it's great because I'm still missing an Ellie. So I'm now going for 2 sigils instead of 1. That's the exciting thing about getting a divine.
Sometimes.
Yeah. No, but I think the way it would die is just they get rid of the polling system and then they start adding more skills. So to the point where they add a skill that actually breaks the game.
Mm-hmm. Don't you feel like if sailing does pass that's going to be like the gatekeep to open up the doors to new skills? I feel like it's going to be the concept of once the floodgates open, that's it. They just need to really push a first skill to kind of open it. Because right now I look at old school and I go, wow, the only update there's never been is a new skill. Like everything else has been new quests, has been new bosses. What's the one update that hasn't been? A skill. Mm-hmm. So I feel like as soon as that happens first, then they could easily get out other skills. Like they could probably push shamanism again in a few years, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because that concept was very close.
Dude, I actually think if shamanism were to come out in the game and, for example, they didn't have polling or anything, dude, that I think could kill the game. It has potential to kill the game.
Yeah, because of the power creep on the augments, would you say?
Yeah,
or what was
it would just be everything's untradeable. You have these weird power-ups with every piece of armor. Something that's so... Dude, honestly, I was scared for Ruinous Powers. I thought Ruinous Powers was going to really break the game, and I'm so glad they scrapped it.
No, 100%. That was definitely not ready to come out. We were doing some testing at Jagex with those prayers on the new bosses as well, and I can tell you now they were a lot easier with those. And I think in the end they just kind of tried reworking them last minute again and just seeing if it had good feedback, but it was just too much hassle. A whole prayer book with so many things in this game that uses it, it's just so hard to balance. It's a very hard thing to do, especially when people try and compare it to the old prayer book as well. Yep. They remember obviously Soul Split being powerful. When you've got Cruor's Vow, which is kind of like lifesteal, but it being very underwhelming, you kind of have to be oh, well, we don't want to make it too powerful, but now the prayer seems useless. Do we even need this? Yeah, it was just in a bad spot. I don't know. Very cool idea, but
yeah, to make an entirely new prayer book is an impossible task in this game.
That's it. Yeah, it's just so useful prayers. That's how most bosses now are designed around, being able to pray flick and that.
Yep.
I can't imagine RS without using it. Yeah. The combat would be so simple. They would have to go obviously the classical, ability MMO route like RS3 did without prayers, even though RS3 has prayers as well. But that's why the MMOs obviously just have the ability stuff for combat, because with old school system, it is a very simple thing, and having the prayers that is what makes it kind of more enjoyable and a bit more advanced, Otherwise it would just be a back and forth system.
Yeah, there's certain things that scare me. Ruinous Powers was the scariest thing I think that was getting pulled into this game. I was actually worrying.
The bread prayer though. Pick up the bread prayer.
Yeah. Okay, let's go look at another topic. Okay, this is actually, I'm very curious on this one. Urashai, I think is the name. Origin story of the cam flip.
Ooh, okay. So I actually remember the origin story quite well, because it was actually during one of the first clue grinds I was doing. It was I decided to build my account with very much range, because I think the reason why I started the Ironman is because I wanted to go for the KBD pet again. So I was doing green dragons to basically try out my range and get clues at the same time, because that was good content at the time. And for some reason, because we were doing this grind for so long, I just started playing around with music and the settings of my stream, and I just come across the webcam settings one day, and there's a song playing at the time called Boneless by Steve Aoki, and I'm just kind of playing around with the horizontal flipping while the song is going on. And there's obviously games out there where it's very rhythmic, like Guitar Hero, where you kind of have to match obviously a button to a beat, right?
Mm-hmm.
So with cam flipping, it's kind of you're clicking your webcam to flip it at the same time as a prominent beat in a song. And for some reason, it's just super addicting. It just was very entertaining for the viewers, even though it was such a simple concept. So it just kind of came out of nowhere, just me just playing around with stuff. And then eventually we just kind of found songs that worked really well. And they kind of became really iconic as a part of the stream, because it would always be hype moments where I'd just pull out these cam flips and people would be always so hyped at the chat. And even these days, even the rare occasions I do one, it's I don't know, it's just something about it. It's just really, really therapeutic.
Yeah, they're really fun, and it's like original too. Nobody ever really does it except for you.
That's it. Like at the end of the day, like it's a bit of a cringe thing, but it's just a good fun, you know. Like some people over the years have been like, "What the fuck?" But at the same time, it's I don't know, just a fun little thing. It's kind of unique to me, and yeah, I guess it's not really a thing as much anymore because I remember when they migrated from OBS Classic to Studio, they actually removed that functionality to do the flips for some reason. So it just kind of killed them off. But yeah, very, very fun little thing. Cool little stream origin story, that the old cam flips.
It's funny how like those little gimmicks just kind of come out of nowhere. Like every streamer has their gimmicks.
Exactly, yeah. Like it's to do with obviously the way they speak or their lingo or just something they do on their stream, yeah.
Yep.
I guess that's what kind of sets you aside from the others and kind of puts you out there, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's weird. Like for me, like it's just random. I started like doing this woo sound. I would go like woo. I would just do that with like literally everything, and I'm like,
oh, I do that a lot myself. I was like, what?
This literally spawned out of nowhere. Just it evolved into this, and then I was just doing it with everything. I was like, oh geez,
yeah.
These gimmicks just arise. Okay, The Cookies asks, can you get me more Ferrero Rochers?
Well, you know, I will go down to the store as soon as I can, and I will buy a fresh box. But I gotta say, the price of those things these days, oh my god, you get like 24 of these for like $9.50, like pounds. We're talking. So that's what in dollars, like $13 for a box. Like premium chockies.
They're so good,
breaking the bank.
They are so good.
They are incredible. They are incredible. And even when like I was younger, I used to think they were the most expensive thing ever because they were like wrapped in these nice gold packaging. And I was like, yeah, I'm not buying those. You know, those were like a special treat for like a Valentine's gift or something. You know.
Yep. No, those things are super addicting. Like, to be honest, they're not even like that expensive.
Not compared to other stuff now. I think it's your concept of money. You know, maybe now that obviously we're older, it's like, okay, I can get them once in a while, you know?
Yeah. But yeah, back in the day, there's no way I'd ever buy those.
That's a waste of money, you know? I'll just get some generic chocolate bar, why not?
The thing is like food prices in general have shot up so much, especially in America. It's ridiculous.
That's it. Even with energy as well, like energy prices, food prices, it's just through the roof now. Like, you got to think, obviously, we're in a very fortunate position where maybe we can, you know, actually make a living for ourselves doing something we love. But you've got like obviously people who just work the 9 to 5, maybe the same earnings, and like
prices are just continually
it must be so stressful, honestly. Like that's why I'm always very grateful to be obviously doing streaming and that, like, because the amount of support you get sometimes is absolutely ridiculous. Like I know with the Farmer series as well, like all 4 of our streams or even 5 of our streams now, like we just get so much support. I know Denice, the Cookies, recently, she's got our all-time highest sub count, and that it's just wild.
That's so cool. Roydy was talking about that. He's like, he's blessed to have the giants, you know, UFO, Mr. Mammal, like just allowing him to join, graciously allowing him to join.
But you got to think, like, he has been such an iconic part of it now. Like
for real.
You can't say like our channels have really helped him up, because at the end of the day, like he has done the exact same stuff. He's on the exact same level as us. It's just he started at a later date. That's all it comes down to, isn't it? Like he's been streaming half the time, but in terms of like content creation and like entertainment, he's got like the same, if not more, you know?
Yeah.
So he definitely deserves where he's at right now. 100%.
Okay, Levi asks, of all the long grinds you've endured, which was the most fun and which was the most relieving to receive the drop?
Oh, okay. There was the most relieving I'll start with.
Okay.
For some reason, because I was only a few items away from completing this list I made myself at the time, I wanted to go for the Wyvern Visage. Now, this was pre-collection log and pre-Lance release. And I decided, like, I'll go kill, you know, the big ancient ones because, it's a 1 in 10k drop rate compared to a 1 in 12.5k. So I was like, fine, I'll do that. And I'll use tentacle whips throughout the entire grind just to speed it up. By God, was that a mistake? I was there for like 20k kills. I used about 30 whips because of the consumable of the tentacle. And Oh, bro, like when I got that drop, I just screamed. Like the reaction's just hilarious because you could just see the relief from my eyes coming out. Like I just regret going for that thing now. I just wish I would have waited for the Lance. The Lance came up probably a couple months after, but I was just determined to get it at that point. Like once I get into a grind, I just can't stop because I have that gamber's fallacy about me with those kind of grinds. I'm like, I'm this far in now, I may as well keep going, you know? So it was like 50 streams of just me going live and just whipping these in the most boring looking areas. Like in the non-task areas, it's like a white area. It looks so bad. It's just nightmares.
And they're so annoying to kill. Like just getting there, you get frozen twice. Just like
like I was getting frozen. It was bad. Like it just turned into a just chatting stream in the end. Like I just basically went live to chat to my stream. We just did these wires in the back. I just hoped for the best, you know.
Dude, I got really lucky. I literally was making a YouTube video when the Blood Fury first came out, when it was only a 1% heal.
Oh,
and
God.
It was just some like dog shit YouTube video. I was like trying. I wasn't even gonna publish the video because like by the end I was like, this is just boring. Just like nothing's going on.
Just look back at it.
But I literally pulled the Wyvern Visage on like 30 minutes in, and I was just like, cool. Okay, I'll just upload it and like just have it as a surprise. Because like some people that actually like watch the whole thing actually see the end.
It, yeah.
But getting that Wyvern
to see in the
Visage,
comments who actually saw it. Yeah. Timestamp it in the vid.
That is one of the sexiest items to see on the ground. When you see that, it's like
it is.
Oh,
bro, yes. It does look great. It looks, for me, nothing will beat the look of a Draconic Visage on the ground because it's just so iconic. But yeah, Wyvern Visage is just such a random item you just wouldn't normally go for. Yep. It's just kind of out the way. But
what was the most fun?
Oh, most fun. Okay, I always say the clue scroll grinds were the most fun. Like obviously earlier I talked about obviously having like 4K viewers just doing the medium clue grind. I had a grind where Master Clues first came out, and I had to receive a Bandos cloak for the clue set where it's like Bandos plate, God Sword, and the cloak. The cloak was the only one I didn't have, so I was like, okay, you know, this won't take long. I'll just grind it out. So there I was for like a couple weeks straight, just grinding out these mediums. And the funniest part about it was the other cloaks in the clue when you first open it look so similar because the symbol difference is like minuscule. Like you got to stare at it for at least 2 seconds to tell the difference. So like I'd open these clues and be like, oh, I got it, and then it was like a placeholder, and like it just made for like just some hilarious content, and just got me way more addicted to clues after that because it was just the hype of just stacking up all these. Because at the time I don't think stackable caskets were a thing, so it was like you'd loot the thing, you'd get the reward.
Yep.
I was trying to remember like how I obtained them though. I can't remember. I must have killed like cockatrices or something. I don't know. Unless Implings did give them. I can't remember. But yeah, that was one of the most fun for sure. Like the clue grinds. Even now, like I'd gladly sit there and do clues all day.
Yeah,
it's very, very enjoyable.
Clues are always just so much fun to grind.
But I got to give obviously an honorable mention to the Ellie grind though, because that for some reason, even though it was so monotonous. And like every day and out just doing 30 kills, like it was like the most iconic journey on the account because you just had so many people involved, and by the time I actually got it, like it was just ridiculous the amount of traction it took. I think it made it to like top 8 of Reddit.
Holy
of the reaction. Yeah, it was like 4,000 people just rushing into the stream because I got it 15 minutes into my stream, so like the only people who saw it were like the people who tuned in on the time, you know, because they knew when I went live. But yeah, like just maxed out a world, all rushed to Varrock, just watching me make this shield. It was insane, dude. Like we can never recreate that ever again. Like it's just another beast, you know. And that was 5 years ago. That's the most amazing thing.
Jeez, that is crazy.
So it's an OG grinder. Like it's not even recent. Yeah.
So
2018.
Were you the first Ironman with all 3 sigils?
No, there was an Ironman called Sae Bae who got all 3 first, and he got the Ellie early, I believe. And I just remember like just sitting there going, "Oh God, like I am so salty," you know, just see it because obviously at the time, the whole reason why I decided to obviously start doing court was because I thought, oh, I'll try out and do this, you know, court method because I think at the time it was me and another Ironman called Sig who were just doing this Nightmare Zone method where we'd recharge a spec at Nightmare Zone. We'd teleport in with a game's neck, spec it once because the BGS was 100% at the time.
It was like 65, right?
Yeah. And it was like, it was like 40-minute kills or something.
God damn.
Yeah. Just teleport, because you have to run all the way. You have to teleport
And
into
you have
Yanil.
to drop all the food too and everything.
Yeah, and drop all the food. Yeah, it was bad. So luckily, 82 kill count Arcane, first in the game on an Ironman. It was like, it was insane.
Crazy.
Yeah, I was gassed. It was midnight because it was off stream, because I had to do the kills off stream because you would get crashed on stream. Like someone would come and just debo. It was so easy. Like the layers were split, obviously now between irons and mains, but at the time anyone could go in, just run in and ruin your kill. And like you'd have to reset. So yeah, I'd have to do it all off stream. I just remember being midnight, just seeing this arcade on the ground. And, oh, it's one of the best feelings ever. And it just got me like hooked to doing more co-op. I was like, right, I want to go get all three now. But then obviously the Ellie happened, so
damn. See, I was like 3,200 KC or something in that range, and I was doing Corp on stream. All I had was a Spectral.
Yeah.
I was still missing the Arcane and Ellie. And Defy J comes out of the blue, just milking every goddamn kill, and he pulls 2 Ellies, and my dumbass is sitting here literally 3,000 kills higher than him.
Yeah.
I'm just like, you know what the craziest thing I ever saw was, what was the guy's name? Was it some guy in solitary when I was in that clan? He pulled, I want to say it was Jai, but I don't think it was. It was another name that started with J, I'm pretty sure. But he pulled an Ellie 60 KC, and then an Arcane at like 130, and then a Spectral at like 140 or something. Like he literally completed all three. Wow. Yeah, within like 140. I'm like, dude.
Yeah, that's wild. I mean, I've seen Irons who pull like a really early Ellie, and then they get the Elixir super early as well. And they have like literally a 20 kill count Ellie. Like,
it's
just wild to me, like how RNG can be sometimes.
Yeah, dude, I remember like that old school bot on Discord that you could just run simulations. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, and just seeing those numbers of being so scared of you grides.
Bro, I remember rolling and it was like finish corp and it was like a 48,000 KC Ellie. I'm like, dude, this is actually possible. Like you could literally go 11 times rate.
Someone could be living that nightmare right now. I'm pretty sure there's an Iron currently who posted on Reddit recently. He got his 6th pet, and he is legit 18,000 driving Ellie right now on his Iron.
Oh my god.
Yep. So you never know. Like, someone has to go. The way I see it, right, is someone has to go and lucky for people who get spoon and 1 kill count. Like, there has to be a balancing factor. If you run all the numbers in total, like all the sigils will probably balance out to 585. But obviously, there has to be like some guy who goes unlucky. It's just so unfortunate if it's you.
It's, dude, the thing is, like, I'm like 3,500 KC right now, and like I've kind of stopped on that grind because I'm still missing an Ellie, but I'm like, yeah, I got my Arcane, but like
that's it.
I'm like, bro,
it's only completionist mentality now to bring you back. I feel like you're not going to be motivated unless you just want to get it done. I'm so terrified because I mean, even Jack went 12,000. I'm like, bro, I can't sit here for another 9,000. Such long kills. Like, they're speeding up now, but it's just
it's true. They have
the newer method. You still got to use so many supplies. I kind of prefer the old method just because you could go in there with legit just like pots and not use any food at all. It'd be so chill. But yeah, I guess with the faster methods now, it's kind of the trade-off between using supplies but getting like 12 kills an hour.
Oh yeah, there's no way I use supplies. I'll still do the chill methods.
Yeah,
it's like
same.
It's like 6 kills. It's like 6 kills an hour, which is
exactly
totally fine.
Desert Ami is good enough. Desert Ami games next.
Yeah.
It's just obviously now you've got the Fang as well that can be used, so people are kind of making use of that, just doing the defense reduction.
The thing is there's like certain grinds that if you are a completionist player, you kind of have to like gauge what's important to grind first and what do you think will get devalued. Like, exactly.
Like Ellie's not really up there, is it, for like a useful item? It's more like just a relic, I feel.
And you can definitely see Corp getting easier and easier over the next 5 years.
Yeah, like, definitely. That's the mindset, isn't it? It's like, oh, do I want to wait now or wait till something more powerful comes out?
And people are wanting like a Fasani's Corp. Like they want like a solo
that's like what? It's like, wouldn't work. It's just a totally different boss. It's a legacy boss, you know. You can't really balance them in the same way. That's just how they were, you know.
Yeah.
The way they used to balance bosses was just damaging you until you had to leave, basically, or do it with more people, you know.
Yep.
It's like even these days, just Cow Fight Queen. Like, you just look at the mechanics, it's like, ignore defense, destroy play. I kind of missed that time, but then I just look at how they were, and it's just bad mechanics.
Yeah. No, I mean,
I
there is
much
some
prefer dodging.
there is something classic about just a traditional RuneScape bot. Like I think of KBD. You go into
Yeah.
KBD, you click boss, you kill boss. All the boss
He's
does is
dead.
attacks you, and it's just this is classic old school. Like you just kill
Definitely,
the
yeah.
boss, grind
Like
it.
they can never make a boss like that ever again now because it would just be considered boring. Like it would be like a quest boss pretty much.
I know, but
Like quest bosses are probably harder to be honest.
there's something like I'm glad they don't feel this need to go and fix those bosses though. Like I love the variety where you get like giant mole
100%.
where you just kill it. You have KBD, you just kill it. Like those are
Yeah.
I still enjoy those in fact, KBD was one of my favorite grinds because it's just so chill.
Yeah,
Just
exactly.
chilling.
Like I still have to do that pet grind now. But there's just something about it. I just like doing a chill boss once in a while in between all the intense like raid content now. Yeah, I can definitely one up you there with that one.
For sure.
Just something nice about it.
Okay. Gravity asks, do you think we have reached the ceiling when it comes to PVM difficulty? If not, how do you think PVM could be pushed further?
Oh no, definitely not. I mean, I'm thinking back to a couple game jams when Mod Husky came up with a concept about the Tassikal trials. So the way he pitched it was like kind of a blue inferno, but every wave you went up would be insane difficulty, and like you'd have to decide between keeping your loot or gambling to do the next wave and going for like higher loot, but then losing it all if you die. Now, I really think with the Summer Summit coming out, they could actually explore that concept a lot more and might do something similar to that. With like a release, because I'm thinking like with RS3 having like Enrage and that being able to push a boss to insane levels, kind of like we've seen with the invocation system at raids, but it would work a lot better with like a solo boss or like a group boss. I feel just having like Enrages or like a system where you'd have to gamble loot to get to higher loot. I think that is how you'd increase the difficulty because you could make these waves insane. Like we're talking Inferno stuff where you'd have to like master it to get to beat it.
Yeah.
Be kind of like a release where people would be attempting it and failing over and over again. And that's obviously great content as well. So I think they could explore that. And obviously, with a great invocation system, you could also make stuff borderline impossible as well. Especially like with Awakened bosses. That's definitely up the bar, I feel.
I always work. So I haven't actually done Awakened Leviathan yet, but I've seen it. And
It's insane.
It's so insane. But the thing I worry is like, is that how we want to make things difficult? Where it's just like actually you have to have insane mouse precision and insane focus, and then just like sometimes like I worry that like is that the route we want to continue to go? Like where it's like, okay, the hardest thing is now do that, but for 5 minutes straight. Like Jesus Christ, like
it's not like click accuracy and positioning and that. Like at the end of the day, like you kind of have to go that route with RuneScape because that's the mechanics we have. It's a click to play game. A lot of it's to do with prayers, so it's understandable that they go that route.
I think it's fine to go that route a little bit, but I think the main thing that makes things really fun is like and challenging is like the strategy, like the immediate solves. For example, like an Inferno comes out and you have to solve a wave where it's not like, okay, panic, click these prayers every single tick and click here every single tick. It's like no. How about it's just solve this wave perfectly and everything can one shot you. But there's no
ways
like
to, like,
insane.
Yeah, there's ways to make it easier and harder depending on your knowledge of the waves. And that's why Inferno is one of those pieces of content where at first it will seem impossible, but then as you grind the waves and kind of know where the spawns are and everything, it does become a lot easier and it's eventually solvable. So that's why obviously this Tactical Trials could work because it's a wave-based system.
Yeah,
obviously,
for sure.
They get insane. It's like maybe a lot less waves, but yeah, maybe that's what they could explore. It's already a great concept in my eyes.
Enrage is definitely what we need to see in old school, though. That sounds so fun.
Oh, yeah.
Especially content-wise, just watching somebody throw away a bunch of loot just to risk it. Like, that sounds awesome.
It's kind of like, ooh, should I do a poll? Will I survive this wave?
Yes. Oh, my God. The predictions and the polls. It's going to be awesome.
That did make Twitch chat way more fun when they added those. I don't know. It's just, you can make the most boring content on RuneScape now, like fun with a prediction. Like, this gets people into it. But like, will I get the certain log this drop or something? I don't know. Like,
you do it every single time.
You can do DJing Gambas. Yeah.
No.
I love the clue ones, though, with the different clue kind of predictions where you go, is it going to be this value or what? Those are
Dude,
really fun.
I started like a year and a half ago. I was doing like those gambles, but it was like I got so simple where it was just like, will I get a diamond ring from this nest? Like it's just like the stupidest thing ever, but everybody loves it. It's fun. Yeah, we'll see what they come out with, because isn't that Summer Summit just coming out in like a week and a half or something?
Let's see. It'll be this Saturday, so yeah, 4 more days. I mean, have you got any predictions for it?
Oh, is it this Saturday? Holy shit.
Yeah.
Okay.
New quest, obviously, but what storyline do they explore? I'm thinking Zaya storyline, because we've not seen one since Kingdom Divided, and obviously at the end of that quest, you saw like the whole concept of Kingdoms of Valamor, which is kind of the extended under the new Desert Treasure 2 area. You've got like the whole like Stranglewood area now. It's going to be below that, I think. Yeah,
that's definitely the best prediction to make. And the map was already leaked. Like
exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you look on them, I think they've done a canvas like on the old school store for ages now, and it actually does have the Kingdom of Valamor already on there, which is kind of cool.
Oh,
they planned ahead to adding it. Yeah, so I feel like that's the direction they'll definitely go soon. They've already kind of planned it out like years ago, I guess. Just when to do it now.
I really hope alongside that, like this would obviously be extra effort as well, but they really need to start looking at not Shazian, Lovakang, Arceus, and Piscarilius
That's the one.
They need to literally adjust those. Those places look like shit.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
They were gonna rework Piscarilius.
So bad, dude.
Yeah.
Dude, have you ever just teleported to Arceus and just looked?
It's just blue. It's just a big squidge of color. I don't know.
Oh my god. So
when you compare it to the reworked one, it's so much nicer.
Oh, Shazian is gorgeous. They nailed that.
So
Sidious is great as well. So yeah,
I think they will eventually. It's way better than Zay used to be. It's just like a square piece of land. And over the years, they've kind of chiseled it and made it a lot better. Like, it does feel a massive part of the game. It's weird to think that Zay wasn't there now.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this with Summer Summit. Do you think they'll come out with another Clue expansion? Or is that going to be later?
I mean, when's the last Clue expansion they did?
2019
Is it as far back as Master? Really?
Yeah, okay. 2019 Mimic and the Third Age Tools? And no, it's Druidic.
I feel like a Clue expansion would be not really something they'd announce at a Summer Summit unless they brought out a whole new tier of clues. But can you go above Master Clues is the question. Like, how do you go above those steps already? Because there's some pretty insane requirements already on those. Like, how could you do better than that? Or would it be a case of expanding clues with like more rewards?
Yeah, I personally think it's too early to come out with Grandmaster Clues. We could give it a few more years. And
what about Achievement Diaries? Like, would there be an added tier to that?
I would be okay with Master Achievement Diaries, and
that could be something to explore. Just the rewards again. Like, what do you do with the rewards? I'm sure that's the hardest part of any new content now. It's thinking, what do we bring out to incentivize people doing it, so it's not dead in the water on release? But no, I'd be down to see more Clue stuff. Like, as I said, big fan of Clues. Like, I'm all for it. I'm just thinking they're going to go the classic route of maybe like new PVM content, new quest, probably expand on some of the stuff they've talked about at Game Jam with concepts and that.
Probably another league idea as well.
Yeah, it'll be another league idea, I reckon. I'm thinking when they're going to continue on the vampire story, and that was a pretty interesting one, the Sins of the Father. Like the whole plot twist at the end. Well, not really plot twist, but the dead ends.
Yeah,
can't think of the term.
And the fact that we still need to run around that stupid Draken's Wall to get to that step. Like, come on, just let us climb up the...
Let us teleport into it. Come on.
No.
I'm just thinking that they could make that final boss fight of the main vampire dude insane. Because Sins of the Father, from like an average player perspective, is actually pretty difficult fight. Like all the lightning dodging and the DPS check. Like they could make that fight like Nomad, like it was back in the day. It's an insane fight to beat.
That'd be cool. Desert Treasure 2 was difficult, man.
Yeah, even that was... Those boss fights were tricky, yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. They're kind of up in the bar now to quest boss fights. That, realistically, is going to be the hardest for a long time.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
it just feels like 4 different quests.
Like, I literally died twice to the very end of Desert Treasure 2 with because I had no idea what I was doing. I went in just expecting it to be easy.
It was that little dwarf.
I have no idea what I'm doing.
Screw the dwarf. I hated her. Like, I wasn't too sure what to do. I was just getting exploded by these bolts. Oh god.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those game knowledge things. I mean, on a new release, you're always gonna get slapped either way. It's just the process in it.
Okay, he also asks favorite moments on stream.
Ooh. Favorite moments on stream. I mean, the first off would be obviously the iconic drop moments. They're always hype. I'm glad that clipping's obviously been a thing on Twitch for years, because without that, like, you wouldn't be able to look back on these memories that you've made now on stream. So it's probably drops. Other iconic moments. I mean, just being part of like the Deadman finales. I used to do a lot of the live events on stage with like the Deadman final hours and that, and they were just like such a nice presence to be a part of. It's kind of like a mini room festa where you do the event and then after you just like go to like an open bar with everyone who went to the event and just have a good time. It was those stream moments were great. Like the Jagex run tournaments, like All Stars was sick. Love that. Yeah, I think it's, like, to pinpoint something on my stream that's happened, it would just be the drop reactions. I'd say I couldn't really pinpoint one thing. Just so many good moments over the years.
Okay. His final question is, do you think you'd ever start a YouTube series?
You see, this is what I've always kind of tried juggling over the years. I'm thinking, do I actually want to start to dive into the YouTube and really come up with a series? But for me, I wouldn't want to do like progress videos because that's already kind of a thing, even though people would gladly follow my progress on my Ironman. But I feel like I stream enough to kind of do the live coverage of it, you know. I'm already kind of putting in those hours, and that's the hardest thing. It would be like the balance. Like I wouldn't be able to stream as many hours, or obviously there'd be like less time in my day, and I already have like barely any. So it's hard when you're already streaming like 8 hours a day plus. I mean, with the farmer stuff now, like I go live for like 7 hours, go offline and go back online for 4. It's like 11, 12 hours a day, you know?
Sheesh.
So yeah, it's hard to juggle.
Can I just interrupt and just say, like, your consistency over a decade of streaming is just admirable.
I
like, it's really crazy.
Oh, thank you.
It's
thank
dedication.
you. I don't know.
Man.
It's just so motivating when you've got like such a nice and supportive community around you. Even just like being part of this community, it's just great. I don't know. I just get so motivated.
That's what's I think admirable about it, is like you've never taken it for granted. I think you've
No, I'm always very grateful, yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool. That's important. And I think you've deserved all the success you've gotten over the years.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's just when I click go live, like it's just a nice experience to, you know, play RuneScape alongside, you know, the people in the chat. So at the end of the day, that's what I see it as. It's just kind of like enjoying your favorite game and just conversating and just enjoying the goofy moments that happen throughout, you know, day and day streams. It's great.
There was a question that was talking about, have you ever been burnt?
Oh, you see, a lot of people always ask me that, and the honest answer is, with RuneScape, no. And I surprise myself. I think to myself, like, with all the hours I have put into this game, like, how isn't there a burning point? And I think I've just really got to a point where I can set like really nice goals to where I have like a main goal I'm working on, but then I've got like fall along goals that kind of are along the road that I can fall back to if I get bored of the main thing. But it's just grind mentality, really. Like over the years, it's just kind of built up, and now I'm at the stage where like I've done some of the hardest stuff with the most hours. If I go back to doing like, say, building a new account now, it's just so easy to work on it. So the burn factor just doesn't really happen for me with a game like RuneScape, because I'm just always doing something. I think as long as I've got something going on in game, like I'll never get burnt. It's just too motivating, really, when with all these new updates coming out. And I think a big part of that is having the stream behind me. Like if I was just a player, there probably would be times where I wouldn't be motivated to play. Streaming is a huge motivator. Like, don't get me wrong.
For sure.
I think that's the main part of it. If I were to choose a moment where I'd burn the most, it would probably be like maybe some of the big item grinds like the Ellie. But at the end of the day, I just think like I'm gonna get it eventually. I may as well continue. So
yeah, and it gets to a point where like you can't stop. That was me with Nightmare.
Exactly.
Like Nightmare was awful, but at least you know that like it's like you're streaming it, people are waiting for the drop, and that kind of motivates you in and of itself. Yeah,
the way I see it is like the longer the drop takes, the better the reaction. And
true.
You kind of want to go drawing some drops for a stream because it builds up a whole story about it. Like if you just get a drop in a day, people are like, oh, you got so spoon, and then they forget about it. If you do a grind over a whole year and get everyone talking about it, it's actually such a big brain for like your stream growth, because the amount of word of mouth you'll get from it is just wild. So
Totally.
that's one good thing about, I guess, dry streaks.
Has there
It
ever
happens a lot.
Has there ever been a game that you've wanted to play but felt like you couldn't because you are a RuneScape streamer?
I wouldn't say so. Like, I've dived into like new releases. I remember when Fortnite first came out, and I used to play that season 1. I like after my RS streams. Like, I do an RS stream and I jump on that and just have some fun with it. But with those type of games, like unless I'm putting in all my hours into it, I never really get to a stage where like I get really, really good and therefore stay motivated to play. I think it's because I can put all my hours into RS. It's like I've got like that game knowledge now where it just stays consistent, and I get motivated to continue. But with games like that, I'm not motivated to play as many hours because I either need to put everything into it or none at all, you know?
Yeah.
That's kind of with me. It's like I'll enjoy games on the side, but there won't be like a stage where I'll get super good at it because I'll have to invest a lot of hours. So there's been releases over the years. Like, I know a lot of streamers are playing like Valheim, and that was quite interesting. But no, I just was like, well, I'm enjoying RS still, you know. I'm not really burned from it, so why would I switch, you know? Why would I explore others?
Okay, this is
I'll be open to the idea.
Yeah. The thing is, like, RuneScape, you can't ever like.
No.
Yeah, it's
Just
just
so easy. It's just a different breed.
and there's no other game that you could ever put in as many hours as RuneScape. It's just yeah, it's like a lifestyle.
You just can't really these days, like, you can't really make another game that's like RS for some reason. Like, even if you bring out a new MMO, I know there was like that Genfanad one that kind of tried to recreate it feel, but you could just never get to the stage because you got to think like old school's unique and it's got 20 years behind it as well.
Yep.
So you've already got the player base there. It's just
very
don't know how
hard
you
to
can
compete with.
Exactly, yeah.
This is a good one. Will you ever do another corp grind should your hardcore group, Ironman group, get that far?
Ooh, I mean, we actually did do about 1,000 corp kills on the last hardcore group Ironman, and we didn't get any sigils. So I feel like this time we do want to try again and get at least one sigil just for the achievement.
Yeah.
But then again, like doing corp on a hardcore group Ironman, it's like it just feels like you're doing it on a main account because you're teaming it. You know, there's no concept of having to spec it down. If you want to keep it safe, you could still do that method, but it's still 4 times faster if you've got the equipment to do it. So yeah, I definitely want to do that on the hardcore group again if we have the time to. Just depends. In terms of doing it again on the Ironman though, I don't have any log slots apart from the pet, which is the pressing thing. So if I actually wanted to pursue that, I would have to go back. But it would be interesting to see how lucky I'd get this time, or more unlucky.
True.
And also just see how it would be as a grind in 2023 compared to like 5 years ago, because it has been enough time, I feel, where I could actually do it again, because it has been so much time.
Yeah, corp's definitely just when I think of corp, I just think of like those. I think of you. I think of Jack. I think of even Casey. I throw him in because he was going.
That's it. Yeah, his pet grind was iconic. Brutal. To be honest, like I look at some of Casey's pet grinds and I think if I ever go that grind of Bloodhound, I'm never gonna get it. Like, how do you do 6? I don't think there's even a 6,000 master clues on a Ironman.
There's barely 1,000. There's a few with over 1,000.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking you could genuinely be in a business where you never get that pet.
Yep.
If you went that drive. It's wild. That guy is a grinder though. Yeah. Casey.
He's crazy.
His collection log stuff is great. Because he got to rank 1 at one point. I think there's a new rank 1 now. I think Bowser is that I think that's how you pronounce it.
There's Basiligus, and then people even say Marnie is the guy that has like 9 pieces of third age, and they're like druidic and pickaxe and just like all the really good pieces. So technically he's like way ahead of everyone.
Yeah, because of the third age stuff. Yeah. The way I see third age logs is like you're doing barrows, but like extreme degen edition. Like you might start getting, unique pieces, but then once you get to the last few, if it ever gets to that stage,
forever.
Yeah, just impossible.
Let me ask you this: do you think anybody will ever complete the collection log?
Well, if we're including the very rare third age stuff, no. But outside of that, absolutely. I mean, the boss log's been done. I feel like that's
I'm pretty sure
one of the hardest parts.
I don't know what. I think Basiligus, well, he's completed all the bosses, completed all mini games. Yeah. I'm pretty sure it just has like a few raids capes to get.
Jeez, and then he's just literally on to clues then.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that's pretty wild.
This is well, okay, I take it back because Desert Treasure 2 came out, so he has a few things. But
he has the one more pet to go there, yeah.
Yeah. The problem is even if somebody were to like literally be one, this would never happen, but even if somebody were to just be 1/3 age piece away from completing it, like by that time, there's like another Clue expansion that came out that gives more third age.
It's new updates, yep.
So you just never get it. Yeah.
I feel like you'd be at a stage where you'd be battling with the new content coming out and also still working on clues. And even then, like that last third age piece could take like 8 years, just rolling like placeholders the entire time. Because aiming for a specific third age piece just sounds like one of the most impossible things to do in this game. It's bad. I could never imagine it.
Yeah.
But no, it's super impressive if people got like 9 already. It makes me remind back to an Ironman in the first year of Ironman mode, actually. There was an Ironman, I think, who went by the name of like Iron Warhead or something. I can't remember. Maybe a different name.
Yeah,
but
yeah, go for it.
I can't remember, but he had like a helmet, a body, and a kite shield or something. And he was only missing the legs, and then he pulls another kite shield. So he's only got melee pieces from hard clues, and this was within like 200 or 300 hard clues.
I remember
just wild.
Was that on like SparkMac Live or something?
That was. Yeah. I can't remember his name, but
it was something. You're right. It was like Warhead something. I'm pretty sure you're right.
Yeah.
Iron Warhead or something.
But he had like the most insane hard clue third age look. And the fact that he could have had a full third age melee set in that, oh my God.
Dude.
I would have just been like in a history, in a museum.
No, like legit. Okay, so right now, the only Ironmen I even know of that have 4 pieces of third age is me and Nos.
Yeah.
And the fact that this random guy back in 2015 had 4 pieces that like
just from hard clues.
Like I thought like to this day, like I want to believe it. I actually do believe it because there's no way somebody would just try to fake that. But it's just so unbelievable how you get that lucky.
Yeah. It was real though, because he came to me in game on one of the streams
really?
And showed
me,
my God. With the gear on, and I was just like, bro.
Okay, well that's the confirmation I needed.
Yeah, he was in game as well. Yeah, it was legit, absolutely insane.
Jesus, dude, like 4 pieces of third age and like 300 hearts.
Yeah. You think of it now, and it's probably not been recreated since.
Bruh, that's like the equivalent of getting like 4 Ellies and 400 corp. Like,
that's it.
Just
the most impressive part is just the fact it was all the melee set. And that's probably why he just burnt out after. Like, he was stuck to getting the legs, but he got another kite. Like, that would make anyone quit, right? You'd be like, I'm done. I was so close.
Dude, and then you have a player like Phrygian who he's rank 1. Well, he de-ironed, but he was rank 1 hards. And he didn't get his first third age until like 7,000 or 8,000 hard clues, and it was Vam Braces.
Oh, yeah, I can see why he de-ironed now. It's just impressive.
Like that is like literally the duality of just luck on third age. You either get it or you don't.
You just have to get lucky to finish that log. Like, it's just no other way. There might be one person who eventually gets pretty close, but it's gonna be just pure RNG. There's no other way to go about it. If you do it average, like, you're never gonna complete it. You have to spoon, and that's how, like, I think Jar of Darkness used to be. Like, no one ever had the Skatiza kill count on the high scores to get that jar.
Mm-hmm. You just had to get
and
lucky.
Then eventually, yeah, I'm glad they finally changed stuff like that.
Bro, imagine going 10 times rate on Jar of Darkness pre.
That's what I mean.
25,000 Skotiza.
Bro, you couldn't even get to that in a lifetime. Like, genuinely, you'd be there.
Then like 10 lifetimes.
Yeah, like, you'd be 1 bill Slayer XP. You'd feel like you wasted your time.
Oh my God.
I actually got that jar though pre-rate, and I was like, no, it's just insane to see on the ground. So, like, part of the evil side was like, oh, I'm gonna vote no to this poll to make the draw rate go down, just to be selfish.
Dude, the thing is I was so I got the jar of, so after the nerf or whatever, or the buff or whatever you call it, I got the jar in like 7 kills. And I was like, fuck, like, I wish they hadn't nerfed it, just because if
Yeah.
you think about it, that only would have taken, like, technically, like, 100 kills.
That's
If
what
I
I
would have
mean.
yeah. God damn it.
But then again, does it work like that with
It
it
doesn't.
being...
It doesn't.
No, exactly. But you got to think to yourself,
Yeah. No, I do feel bad for those. There was one guy that would come into my stream, and nerf, he got 2 jars of darkness on his log.
Oh my god. You got to think, like, what a waste of RNG, but...
Totally. Yeah, getting
That's
a second
wild.
one's just stupid.
Yeah, especially because, like, you got to think how imbalanced that drop was when they first released it. What were they thinking? Like, they made the pet 1 in 65, right? Because they thought that'd be pretty reasonable for something you got to get a totem for. But what? 1 in 2,500 for a jar? Come on.
Well,
Definitely some, like...
My whole argument back then was, like, there is literally no use for this jar at all.
Yeah.
But it's because collection log became a thing.
Exactly.
That everyone
It's the
got
collection
bothered.
log mindset. Yeah.
Yep.
That's it. What about the gargoyle jar? That's like 1 in 5k. That makes no sense to me either. I don't know why that one's so rare.
Dude,
I feel like they messed up on that one as well.
sad story about that. I got that jar of stone 20 KC a month before the collection log came out.
Oh, pain.
Oh,
Don't you worry. You know that Wyvern Vicious story I told you?
Oh.
Yeah, that was a month before the collection log. So I haven't got it anymore.
That's so bad.
I know the feeling.
I'm glad all my third age pieces were post log, just barely.
Yeah. Yeah, the third age axe is for me, but the top wasn't, unfortunately. That was back in
Rip.
2015, so I'll never see that one again, unfortunately. But the axe made up for it. It's okay. We'll be happy with that.
Okay, let's see. Blueberry Central asks, you are playing your second Group Ironman account now. Do you think that Group Ironman was a good addition to the game? What makes it so fun for you?
Yeah, I mean, this second iteration of the farmers was like such a out of the blue last minute thing for us. It only came about because Foe was playing a hardcore group with Oda, who obviously wanted to do one for the first time. And obviously their group ended earlier. So Foe still had kind of that hardcore itch. He was getting to the good stage. He was a month in. So ultimately he was like, oh, why don't we just ask the others? We've done it already. It's been a good amount of time, why not, give it a go? And I just said to him straight up, like, listen, if you get a max gate, I will gladly go again. So he got his max gate, we just ran it back, and it's been like just as fun as the first, if not more fun. Like, I guess we've switched it up this time because we've invited in Denice now. And now obviously with the 5-man format, it has felt very different. And there's different content in game and different metas now. So yeah, it's been very enjoyable.
That's
one
cool.
thing I do like is the fact that they added in a lot of group time and quality of life halfway through the game mode last time when we were playing. But now that's all in the game as soon as we started the account. So yeah, it's been great. I've had a lot of fun with it and very, very addicted. I want to say more addicted to this than my main Ironman right now.
That's awesome. Okay, Shiny Red Eyes asks, what boss mechanics would you like to see in the future of OSRS, if any?
Ooh, boss mechanics. I think with like bosses being able to run now is making them a lot more scary because you've got to think about positioning more. I'd like to see more of that. Seems like they're spamming that a lot more. The mechanic with Vardoris with the kind of the stuff you click on screen. I really like that. I knew as soon as players saw that mechanic, they would love it. That was sick.
Yeah,
and,
they did it in a very non-intrusive way as well.
Yeah,
They got that.
That just feels
nice.
so natural.
Yep.
Yeah, I love that. I just think more invocation stuff is what I'd like to see. I'd say, because from a player perspective, it's very hard to think of new mechanics out of the blue. I think just doing more of what they've been doing and just doing unique stuff would be sick. I mean, Mod Arcane's a great developer. He makes some really good stuff. So yeah, I wouldn't have any doubts of him bringing out some really cool, unique stuff. I reckon we'll see some of that with the Summer Summit, to be honest. Like some new cool boss.
Yeah,
more invocation stuff.
I'm really glad we have like Elena, Husky, Arcane. Like those guys are all. Well, first of all three of those people are maxed Ironmen. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. They're all players, and that's why the team now is like so good because they've all come from the player perspective. They kind of understand it.
What is your favorite boss, by the way? Like just a pure gameplay wise.
I don't know why. I just really like I used to really like the normal Nightmare until Fosani came out. And I think it was just because it was just different and like you had like the mechanics of having to react to the melee faster. But now that we've got stuff like TOA coming out, which is like feels a lot cleaner, like I'd say the raiding content would be my favorite. Okay. But I've got a soft spot for, I'd say, Zora as well. I don't know. I could grind Zora all day, every day. I did that grind recently in the hardcore group. And like, it just comes natural to me. Like we've done probably 14,000 kills over all the accounts, but yeah, I don't know. I just like how chill it is, and it's become a lot easier these days as well with the gear we got now.
Yep.
No, so I'd probably go with Zora.
There's something really just fun about a quick fight that's pretty basic. Even though, you know, Zora takes a little bit to learn, but like as soon as you get it down, it's just chill. Like, you're just having a good time.
You get the click. That's why people like CG, I guess, because it's the click. Like, I just remember getting that click where I was like, okay, I know how all the movements work now, getting all the prayers down. And to be fair, like on release, that content was brutal. You know, you had no animations for the flicking. It was like just a counting boss. I'm just so glad they got rid of that.
Yeah.
Like counting boss is just so bad. Same with demonics as well.
So stupid.
What do you think of the demonic change with the animation kind of?
That's good.
Telling when it's going to change.
That's totally fine.
Keeps it nice.
Yeah. It's like, why? Yeah, I know. You just have to like honestly ask yourself, like, why are we keeping this stupid mechanic where you're just getting RNG'd over and over? Like, is there a reason for this?
It's just not fun. Yeah. Maybe fun for a little bit, but like after 1,000 you have to do for the Denice, it's just not good.
Yeah. Like, there is an argument against it, which is like, oh, well, you know, now there's more of a reason to bring tankier gear because, you know, there is a chance you could get mage or ranged or whatever. So you'd pray mage every time and your gear would protect you. Like, there still is arguments, but it's the same thing that goes with like Fasanis. Like, people love a fight that has no RNG element to it, where you're not even getting chip damage. But at the end of the day, like, when are you ever going to use food then? I think Vardorvis really nailed it with
100%.
You're getting chipped down technically, but the fight is consistent. You're not going to die to the chip damage if you're fully healed at the beginning, unless you make mistakes.
Yeah, like you have to keep food useful, and at the same time, they give you an item to get back to the area faster. It's just a balancing thing, really. Like having the boss really far away is just all to do with the amount of drops coming into the game. That's why they couldn't do a straight up, like, I guess, instances for some bosses, because the drops are just coming too fast. So. I don't know what to think about the price of the new drops already, though. I feel like Virtus is already down bad. I kind of expected it. It's not BIS, but still really good gear, though, like for what it is. Yeah. Just Ancient's just not as useful, I guess.
The problem is I feel like our expectation of drops, like we always have, especially as main accounts, like we have this idea that like this item needs to be this price, and if it's not, then something's wrong. It's like, nah, it's just it's just supply and demand. Like, we just have to understand that some items will just, it's like the Pegasian crystal. That shit was gonna be 100K.
Yeah,
and there's nothing we can really do about it.
So they come in way slower. Yeah, it's just all about what is the main item. That's why I thought, like, when they were adding the Aladdin's water, I was like, well, this item's gonna be cheap straight away because there's gonna be way less arcane sigils in the game.
Yeah.
What do you think about like the price of the scythe compared to the other two like mega weapons? You think like the scythe should receive some sort of buff to kind of bump it back up?
No, I'm actually completely against the scythe buff. I think what they could do. Okay, so first of all, the scythe is really good in certain areas, and that's what it really should be. I think, and this is my take with the twist. I honestly think the twisted bow should get like. I would even be okay with a little bit of a nerf to the twisted bow, but it's fine the way it is, because if it touch it at all, people are gonna freak out. So that's fine.
Yeah, it's been an iconic item for a while now.
Yeah, the scythe is really good in certain places, and that's what I think should be. I think people get way too obsessed with this idea that the mega rares need to be super really good everywhere. Yeah. And I think that's just a dangerous route to go down, because then it just makes every other item look like trash.
Exactly. But then you see stuff like the Fang being as good and cheap as it is now. And, you know, in some situations, people are using the Fang over Scythe. And like those big boss situations. I did have one idea with the Scythe, though.
What is that?
To kind of get it on the same level. And that was just, you know, like the Blood Fury just gives you the passive heal. I was just thinking, like, add, like, the Blood Fury to the Scythe. Because that would keep it, like, on par with kind of feeling more powerful, and then that could be like a perk of it.
You know what? I think one thing is like make it. They could do this where they make it so the scythe only takes one charge from the Blood Fury, but it still gets
all
the
that. Yeah,
because then you could actually that is a problem with the scythe is like you have no real incentive to use a Blood Fury with this unless you're a main and you just don't care about money.
Exactly,
But
it just goes way too fast,
dude. This is just burning blood runes or the blood shards. It's not good.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking because the blood rune cost is a lot, which is ultimately a downside of using it. But if you had obviously like a passive inbuilt blood effect, like it would make sense with the lore of the item. It's a friggin' blood scythe, but at the same time, it kind of gives it that edge because.
Yeah,
I don't know. I just feel like Shadow and even though we can't really compare them, but at the end of the day, they are on the same level. They're meant to be the combat triangle of the big weapons.
Yeah. Okay. Well, there was. Okay. So this would actually. I've heard a lot of people because I've made some rambles and I was talking. I had a really strong position on just really getting charged weapons to be more prominent in the game, especially just with higher level weapons. But I've kind of like lessened my stance on that, and I was just thinking like, okay, people have a problem with the Fang because it's really good, so make it so Fang has just either really shitty slash and it's really just meant for stab. And then this was actually something that was brought up that actually made me think, like right now Inquisitor's Mace is barely used for literally anything except for like
melee Crush is down bad. Yeah,
and the Scythe, this would actually be a nerf to the Scythe, but make it so the Scythe isn't good at Crush, so the Mace now has a place, kind of, and make it so even the Scythe's slash accuracy is a little bit better. That's what I mean. Better.
Yeah.
That would be okay.
I think
I'd be okay with
the danger with doing that, though, is because the Scythe is two-handed, and it's also only good against enemies with, like, bigger tiles, then obviously removing a perk from it then would make it kind of even more redundant, as you said, because obviously then you could go back to using, like, Blade of Seodor for, like, singular combat. Because you don't even get the triple hit on like one-tile enemies, I guess. That's the only thing.
Yeah. What do you think? What do you think about like 2x2 monsters getting all 3 hits from a scythe?
Yeah, I reckon so. I think that could be a good start of a buff, just making it hit more. I mean, maybe even the buff would be even single enemies get multiple hits. I don't know. Like that could be a good perk.
I don't
really break it too much.
So that's where I would actually draw the line because I think the scythe shouldn't just be best everywhere. I think the niche that it is good against. It's the same thing with Tebow. Tebow's not good everywhere. It's good against high mage level bosses.
That's true. But do you think with the blood rune like cost of it, that would be the offset against having to use like a normal weapon that doesn't degrade against that because it is expensive? Or do you think that's not as powerful? Because I guess blood rune prices kind of down at the moment, so
I think the way to go about it is maybe add a little bit of accuracy to the slash and make it so 2x2s get all 3 hits, and make it so even 1x1s you'd only get 1 hit on it. But that would be the niche case scenarios where a Blade of Seodor for once ever has any sort of.
That's true. That's an item that isn't really used anymore. Like it's no one's gonna make that first.
It is so garbage.
Yeah. But then you think of it as an item, and it's just like it's a good item. It's just kind of put down by other stuff now. Yeah. And that's the only issue to like when new stuff comes out. It's like how do you then slot in the older items or the new items?
Yeah.
They must really sit there for hours coming up with rewards. I'll tell you what. Like,
I know.
What do we do next?
There's just the thing is like we keep building upon this game, and so the more it gets more and more and more complex, where balancing items just becomes a headache because there's so many factors to everything.
Do you think they could do an item within an item within an item, kind of like a Russian dot? You know, like they make the whip into the Mr. Tentacle and they add another item to that. Dude, or is that too far?
The thing is I don't actually think that's too far. I was even thinking like, for example, if they were to come out with new boots, are we just supposed to complete? Because I would argue Jagex would present just scrapping like Sir boots. Like Sir boots are now just like the mid tier ones, and now you just.
I reckon they would.
But I wouldn't be opposed to making Prims just have an upgrade to Prims. And so now technically there's 3 things. Dragon
That's
Boots,
it, yeah.
And
that would be the first one that I feel like they'd explore because we haven't had boots in a while. Mm-hmm. I think right now, obviously for mage and range, there's no damage boosting boots. So that's probably where they're looking at. If you look at the last few items that are coming out, obviously they saw that rings didn't have that. Yeah. That's naturally going to be the first one.
Well,
so yeah, Good guess. Boots
What are your thoughts on a Colt doing 10% magic damage?
God. Yeah, it's just wild. Like for a Slayer item, like what? That has always been one of the most powerful.
That I think. Okay, my personal opinion. If the community doesn't want it to be changed, fine, that's whatever. But that is something that desperately needs to be looked at, because you can't have health in this game with an item that does literally the equivalent of 5 ancestral pieces in one slot.
That's what I mean. If you compare it to ancestral, then you think what? But then you always look back to seeing that jewelry is always the most powerful boost in the game. Like jewelry's wild.
That's true.
Like rings and amulets and that, they've always given the biggest boost. Like always back in the day, like you'd add to your setup with like a fury, because it would just give insane defense bonuses, all the attack and strength and prayer on top of that. So like it's always been, no secret that jewelry's OP, but yeah, I think they definitely went overboard with the occult release. Probably just because it was one of the first
it was just
Slayer
something
releases
to
after
make
Kraken.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, it was kind of like an incentivizer in it. Maybe there wasn't as much magic damage back then. So.
And there was no reason to even care about the balancing, because like you said, Arims was the best thing there anyway.
It's probably because you had Trident now, and like you actually started to get damage increase with the Trident and having magic levels and higher damage, so just made more sense.
I mean, I just think we could do like a rebalance of mage damage. Like you could still keep the occult as the best slot. Like you could literally make occult 6%, and it would still be so amazing.
It's still good because you still got the mage bonus on there, even though that isn't as important. But
like,
it's just good overall.
Dude,
What's price as well.
This would be my. I've talked about this, and I've always kind of changed a little bit on the calculations. But seriously, if they were to make occult 6%, lower tormented just by 1 from 5 to 4, make that 4, and then make augury have 5%. So now you've not changed anything, but you've given augury an actual use in certain situations, and you've rebalanced this. Like, that would be great.
I'll tell you what, though. People who are holding arcane scrolls right now are rubbing their hands for that day. They're just like, yes, please. They would make absolute bank overnight.
Yeah,
that
is true.
The arcane would go up so much. Because now you got Shadow as well. Like, that would be a needed thing. I want to say, right now, the most OP item in the game is the Saturated Heart. That item is insane. Like, dude. Max boost? Like, what?
And it's just forever. I actually love that it's forever. Like, selfishly, it's so good.
Sick.
It's so good.
It's just like, do they explore that now with other combats or just mage? I don't think they could, because you don't have a super magic potion. That's the thing. Well, technically you do now with the Forgotten Brew. That now is the super magic potion, I guess.
Yeah, dude, that Saturated Heart is actually so busted. It's so busted.
It's not even like impossible to get either. Like the upgrade itself is not impossible. It's just grinding Muspar, but
I know.
Yeah, it can be quite nasty on the Slayer, I guess.
They've even made it easier, because like isn't superiors after elite CAs like 1 in
150s?
Yeah,
that's it. Yeah, so technically it is easier, and you've got obviously higher level mobs now. Like if you really wanted to grind it, you could go do hydras and just grind the superiors. It would be the most miserable thing ever, but technically it's possible.
Yeah, I don't know. There's just certain silly things in this game that are actually just incredibly busted, but we're just like, whatever.
We just kind of deal with it like, it's been in the game for a while, why not?
Yeah. It's like, whatever.
But it slides, 10% mage damage, sure.
Maze has a couple questions, but I want to ask his second question, which is, outside of the farmers, who is your favorite content creator?
I would say... when he does stream, Wook's always really interests me. It's just the way, obviously I said before, the way he innovates like methods and that. Obviously Wook's is like a really chill content creator. He doesn't really like go for the entertainment factor as much. It's just his gameplay is just insane. So always a big fan of when I see his streams. I would say entertainment value, like I've really been enjoying Ginger Beardy. Like he's been doing his subathon, or maybe recently finished it. And like he's just a hilarious dude, you know. He can he's just outrageous. He just I don't know, it's just the character about him is just always enjoyable to tune in. And then for like the GOAT wise, like Boaty streams that are so consistent as well. Like I'll always find myself in a Boaty stream outside of the farmers. These days though, it's just like I'm always rotating the farmer streams. It's just something about really interesting about watching your teammates play after you go offline.
You have to.
But,
that makes
you have to,
sense
exactly.
too.
Yeah. But no, I would say, yeah, Wooks, Gingerbeardy, and Boaty are probably the outside of the ones I watch the most at the moment.
Those are all great streamers. What
Yeah.
about on the side of YouTube? Do you watch much OSRS YouTube?
Ooh, when I get the time to, it's very rare. Like, usually if I have time, I'll start with like a highlight channel. So just to see like what's going on in the category. And then other than that, I'm just really interested in like the like soup stuff, like his Gillinor games, and that's probably my favorite series that's ever happened, I would say. So YouTube for me, not as much. I don't watch, just because I'm always on Twitch. But no, I really enjoy like the production value of like Gillinor games and that.
Nice.
Very, very cool stuff.
Yeah, it seems to be you. At least how I've seen it is like I'll have a YouTube phase and then I'll have a Twitch phase.
Yeah.
It's like I'm really just watching all Twitch and then I'm
Yeah.
just watching all YouTube and then I'll switch off kind of. Yeah.
I think it's just because like I'm live all the time, so it's really hard to like pull up a YouTube video on the side.
Yeah,
like,
that's true. And
but with
you
Twitch,
I mean,
kind of
you're streaming so much as well. Like it's
yeah,
different.
that's it. Like I'll literally stream and I'll have like a couple hours to myself, and then I'll just reset and go again. Yeah, that's especially with this farmer stuff.
Yeah,
because I'll try and sync up with the American guys.
There's literally so much OSRS YouTube content nowadays too. It's like,
oh yeah,
where do you even start? Like,
that's what I mean. Like, if I watched it, like I'd be absolutely loving it because I'd have hours and hours of content to catch up on. I could sit there for hours just watching everything. You know?
Yeah, literally. There is so
That's
much
great.
out there now.
And it's great to see though. Like,
and the quality of stuff is actually just becoming insane. Like,
yeah. Who do you think set the bar for that? Like, where did it change?
Settled 100%.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, even Torvesta, like he has, he's made a few series and they are just so good. Torvesta's truly like unlocked the secret to just high engagement video that's just fast paced. It's like no bullshit. Just go.
That's it. It's hardcore stuff, straight to the point, like hours and hours between those clips, but just very enjoyable. And I love the comical factor as well, just like the sound effects. Like that for me, I just find hilarious. Like there's the random like meme clips. Oh, it just makes it to me.
Yeah,
I love that kind of stuff.
Yeah, he nails it with that. Okay, so what is the average day for Curtis? What do you do in the like an average
day?
Yeah.
Ooh, wow, this is my last 3 months with the farmers going on. So usually I will start my day with
what time?
Usually at like 9 a.m. I'd say I'd set my alarm for.
Okay.
I try and go bed by like midnight. So usually 9 a.m. I'll wake up. I'll usually start with either like a walk or just breakfast and then straight into a shower. It just really depends on how lazy I'm feeling. Like I get through phases where like I'll go out on a walk to kind of reset my mind. And I recently got back into Pokemon Go, which is kind of motivating to do that.
Ooh.
But yeah, morning walk was really good. There was a content creator called Ryan who actually got me into a thing called Fitman mode, which kind of got me way back into that kind of stuff. So Glitch Coach, and shout out to him. Yeah, he got me back into all that kind of stuff. And I just kind of routined it since then with like the walks and that. Because he set like a step limit per day. I just really need the motivation to do that because outside of that, I don't do any gym stuff, to be honest. It's just mostly the kind of walking and that.
Yep.
But yeah, my day will just usually be that and then breakfast, shower, throw on the stream, and then usually I'll go offline now, make dinner for me and my wife, and then I'll do another stream and sleep pretty much. That's the format with the farmers. And I only say that because I have my normal viewer base at my time zone. But then obviously by the time everyone else is online, it's at like 7 p.m., 8 p.m. my time. So in order to sync up and actually do the group content, which is a big part of the series, I will have to obviously stream then as well. But I don't want to make it like my normal streaming hours because obviously it's just not good for my channel. So I got to kind of meet in the middle with that. But yeah, outside of the Farmer series, I used to do just a lot of different stuff in the evenings. Usually it was like nights out or just movies at home. I mean, I've had Denice here now for the last half a year. We've been long distance for a while, but she's finally living in the UK with me now. So yeah, I reckon we'll be doing a lot more stuff now with our time just because of that. There's a lot of flying to the Netherlands back and forth before.
All right, I need to ask, how did you and Denice meet? And
oh yeah,
I want to hear the story. Let's hear it.
So Denise has been a RuneScape streamer for actually quite a while. It's been like the last 3.5 years, and she actually wasn't really an expert at the game. She kind of started from scratch in these last few years and just kind of learned the game. And I was just obviously browsing Twitch at the time, and I'd like hop in and out of streams, and there was like just something about her energy when I joined her stream that was just kind of matching to mine. Like she was just very silly and goofy about a lot of stuff, and just kind of didn't take herself too seriously, and just enjoyed the gameplay and interacting with the chat and doing all like the stream effects and that. You should have like loads of overlays where she'd like put on some weird face cam masks and do all this silly stuff. And I just really enjoyed her streams at the time. And we just kind of started talking like in each of his chats, and it just moved over to like socials after a while, and like we just kind of connected from that. And then after a while, COVID obviously started, and we were planning to meet each other, and yeah, because of COVID obviously we couldn't like do any flights, and so it was just a really intense like year of just talking back and forth and looking forward to meeting each other the first time. And I think that just connected us like a lot faster as well, because we kind of didn't take stuff for granted with being able to see each other. Like we really wanted to cherish that because we didn't have that. So we really built our relationship on like a solid foundation with just like talking to each other and really connecting. And I think that's what really important that has now turned it into a really successful marriage so far. It's been a year and a half so far since we got married. So
that's crazy. A year and a half.
Yeah, it's mad, isn't it? Yeah.
Did you
absolutely mad?
Like beforehand? Did you ever like? I don't know. The whole like being a content creator, especially with how many hours you're pouring into it, like
yeah,
it just seems like I don't know. I just think it's really cool to have like found love, and especially like through Twitch of all places.
That's what I mean,
like,
and it works awesome. So well because we do the same thing, yeah. And like I've been in relationships in the past where it's worked, but there will be a time where it starts to become a problem that you're streaming too much, and like you need to find the time for other stuff, and yeah, it does get a bit much. But with mine and Denise's relationship, like we kind of understand what it's all about, and it's just I can like just do my own thing now. We just like even being able to like technically work together now with this Farmers series, it's just been
awesome.
So lovely, yeah. It's been really, really good. It just excels obviously our relationship outside of stream as well.
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, I remember watching Denise's stream like a few years back, and yeah, I think she was like ranging Ankus or something like.
Yeah, just learning stuff. Yeah. Yeah, I love her to bits. Yeah, she's a great gal.
That's really cool. There's actually a question here from Bayless Mango asking, would you ever do a duo hardcore group Ironman or group Ironman with just Denice?
That was actually the plan pre-Farmers, believe it or not. We were going to do like... Okay, so before, I was actually thinking about doing a YouTube series, but me and Denice were going to do one with a hardcore group. But it wasn't really going to be aimed on the hardcore group as much. It was kind of going to be based on like a clue scroll series to where we would only unlock certain content depending on which clue log slots we've unlocked. So say if we've got like a certain amount of log slots on beginner clues, we could then progress to easies. And this would also allow us to get more skill total level and more quest points. It was like all locks behind clues or something. It's like a really out of the ordinary series, kind of all about clues, because we just, as I said, really enjoy doing clue scrolls overall. So yeah, definitely down to doing it. But I think it would be not really about the hardcore stats as much.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. Let me ask, like, when you do have your days off, what do you like to do? Like, what are things? Do you like movies, books, like what, any outdoor activities? What do you like to do?
So Tuesday usually is my house cleaning day. So usually it's housework, family time. I do love my family time. And other than that, like I'm just really knuckling down, thinking about the next stream and just kind of working off stuff offline. So not too much, to be fair. Like it's mostly just TV shows, movies. I do like my walks. Walks are always good. Mm-hmm. We did one recently at a local castle. We got Denise's dad over, did like the Warwick Castle kind of stuff. That was really fun. I went to actually Pokemon Go Fest recently. That was real fun as well. Yeah, I just like the simplicity of life, really. I don't really need much to entertain me.
It's so funny because like it's like I could definitely just see myself in that. And I've talked to so many content creators that are like the people that are like the most into RuneScape tend to be able to live a very simple life. And
Yeah, I'm a
enjoy
very
it.
simple man. I don't really need much, you know. I just
Awesome.
enjoy my streaming outside of that. Like if I were to conversate with someone outside of RuneScape as much, it wouldn't be as much of a fun conversation, you know, because like there's not as much that would happen in my day.
Yeah, that's always my fear. It's like meeting people and just realizing like, man, there's
Like,
there's
shit,
so
I don't have any stories.
there's like a few things, but it's like, man, there are literally people that are doing crazy stuff every single weekend, and I'm like, I am so boring.
I know. I do
boring.
consider myself quite boring actually outside of this RuneScape content creation, but it's just what life experiences you get really. Like if you can give a good combo, it's usually about stuff in your day. Like, you know, people who are out and about doing stuff and trips and that, like, yeah, they're going to build up memories and stories. And I guess that's the balance you've got to find between streaming and real life. You know, you have to go out and do stuff as well. So I think that's something I want to aim for more.
So has there ever, have you ever thought at least of, at some point in the future, toning back the hours and being able to just explore life with, you know, how much you've just I'm imagining having saved up and having built like a good like foundation where you can live off and be able to, you know, vacation and travel and stuff. Like, do you ever think of like a certain time where you would put off streaming a little bit more, or are you pretty much in the grind set?
I used to go into a lot of events before COVID. I think with the whole COVID thing happening, and I think a lot of people can say this, it just kind of threw them off of doing that kind of stuff. Because like I used to do like RS events and like local gaming festivals and that kind of stuff, and like nights out very regularly. Like every Deadman I was invited to, I would go down and do that event, and all kinds of Jagex play tests and that. And even just like holidays, I would do like lads holidays and stuff. But COVID just completely threw me off. And like I've just been very used to just being recluse and just getting on with the streaming and that. And I think with the whole not being able to see Denice for the longest time, like just being able to fly over to her to see her like, every month was a really cool thing last year. And now, obviously, now she's settled in the UK, I think now is where we'll start to explore to go on holidays ourselves and those kind of trips and getting back into the swing of things, really. It's just been very focused on getting Denice here. And yeah, we're just kind of enjoying our lives how it is now. Yeah, just kind of looking forward to the future now.
That's awesome.
So yeah, definitely wanted to get that bigger balance going again.
Have you ever met a viewer IRL? Like just randomly, like just
randomly, yeah. I think the last story I had was I was actually just out playing Pokemon Go, and like some guy was jogging near me, and he just gave me like a kind of a look. He had to give me a second guess, and he came in the stream after, and he was like, "Was that you down this and so road?" And I was like, "Yeah." I had a feeling that like you kind of noticed. So I've had interactions like that where they don't actually pursue it.
Yeah.
And then I've had others as well where like I'm traveling, and you normally get at like train stations and that where people will just come up to you and be like, "Are you Curtis?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And then we just kind of just have either like a 30-second thing or just like a 2-minute thing where we just like talk about random stuff, and they say, "Oh yeah." Normally it's, you know, "I like your content," or this, or "Thanks for making the videos." And you just got to be like appreciative of it. But you don't get it as often, especially me, because I don't really go outside as much. So you're like, you have to probably go outside to meet stuff like that. But I tell you what, RuneFest and that, if you ever go there as a content creator, it is such an unreal experience because you'll be meeting so many people you've never met before, but they know who you are. And it's just a wild time. They used to get me on the panels like Q&As and that was real fun. I think we even did like a Deadman on stage once. That was super fun. It was like Deadman Mansions, I think it was called. And they had us in a mansion for a week, and then they transported us over to RuneFest after that. It was crazy.
Jagex used to do the greatest event. Like they used to just hold events all the time like that. And I've heard...
You want to know what it was? It was Mod Stone. He was the event organizer at the time.
Oh.
Yeah, he was like the marketing, and he left, and that's why they stopped. He used to push so many, like he got us flew out to TwitchCon and everything. Like you felt like royalty with him there because he just...
Dude, that's what I've heard. I remember like talking to Lucid Dream, even like he was flown out, and like guys went to like Gordon Ramsay's restaurant or some shit. Like just like,
it was
what?
Wild, mate. They just splashed the Jagex budget at some years, honestly. They were just like,
That's amazing.
Even these Deadman events, they had like a 5K Jagex tab on the bar. They're like, right, drink it dry. And I just remember the bar staff having to go like the local supermarket to get more like alcohol in because they were like, oh god, yeah, it's crazy, man.
I really hope Jagex gets back on that whole grind of like inviting content creators out and just having events.
Yeah, it does feel a lot more personal, and they've started doing that again with the playtesting stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I had the pleasure of playtesting the Desert Treasure 2 stuff recently.
That's cool.
Yeah, it just feels very, very personal. But they used to get like loads of international creators out as well, like everybody pretty much to do like Song of the Elves and that. So
God, that would be amazing. That would be like a literal dream to get flown out for free by Jagex and like go and test something or just have like a
honestly.
God, that would be
awesome. I really hope they can get you out for an experience like one day because it's so sick, dude, honestly.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, whenever they do come out with a Rune Fest, I'm definitely going, and I would love to meet you and pretty much everybody 100%. I've talked to on like the podcast.
That's what I mean. There's like so many people. Yeah, like you'd have hundreds of people to talk to, like from all the people you brought on your podcast. So gas.
Yeah. That we'll see. Okay,
one for the bucket list for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, are you going to TwitchCon?
When's the next TwitchCon? Is it end of this year?
Yeah, I think it's October or something.
No, I have no plans for this next one. TwitchCons for me, it's like I don't really know as many people outside the RS category, so like I'll usually just go for the experience. I went once, but yeah, it was more for the people to be honest, rather than the event. That's why I kind of like the Rune Fest more.
That's me as well. It's like I would much rather go to a Rune Fest, spend all the money on flying out to a Rune Fest than a TwitchCon, because TwitchCon really is just, at least in my head, it's more like hanging out with a bunch of content creators at an Airbnb.
That's it.
And
I'd rather go if I plan like a trip around it. I'm sure that's what a lot of people do with Rune Fest. They kind of do a London trip as well. That's why they need to put it in London again. They did it the last 2 years at like somewhere outside of London called Farnborough. And like after the event, like there was nothing really much to do. Like at least when you were in London, you could like go out and experience the city. And London's such a beautiful place to be. So.
Yeah, I've never been to Europe at all, so that would be amazing.
Really?
Yeah,
wow.
Never.
Oh, that's going to be a sick experience for you then.
Yeah, we'll see. Okay, Curtis, this was an absolute pleasure having you on the cast.
Honestly, such a blast, man. I really appreciate the invite and appreciate everyone reaching out with the questions on X/Twitter as well.
What is up with that? Is that ever going to revert back to Twitter, or are we just stuck with
it? Elon Musk.
I literally have to. I literally have to go back in all my stuff and start like editing my descriptions and putting X instead of Twitter. Like I still call it Twitter.
No.
I'm like, oh no.
I know. I think everyone will. Honestly, it's going to take a few years.
Yeah, for sure.
Just silly. But yeah, honestly, thank you so much for getting me on. It's been awesome. Really enjoyed the convos.
It's my pleasure. Well, I think I already know the answer to this because I mentioned it before, but I'm going to ask you for some shout outs, and I think I already know the answer to it.
Yeah, Farmers on My Chest. Check them out. You know, the Legends, the Hardcore series. Hopefully we'll survive longer to give you content, but you know, shout out to the Cookies, Foe, Roydy, and Mr. Mammal. The Legends, the GOATs.
MMORPG, this was an absolute pleasure. Guys, for those still listening, down in the description, go follow Curtis on his Twitch, his YouTube, his Twitter, or his X. It just sounds wrong. Follow his X.
Yeah. Hey, guys, I would love to see you come over. But thank you all so much for listening and tuning in. Cool. And make sure you subscribe to this lovely man.
Thank you.
That's it. Go on, do it.
Next week, we will be, or actually later this week, just in a couple days, we're going to be having Mod Bruno on the cast.
Oh,
yeah, very excited.
Spicy.
That dude's a legend, by the way.
Yeah, he's very chill. Yeah, he was at the playtest recently.
Oh, that's
very
cool.
Nice guy to talk to.
So we'll be having Mod Bruno on, and the next week we won't be having anybody because I'm going to be hanging out with my family. That's all flying out to just come visit here. So so a bye week next week, so don't expect any casts, but we'll continue on the grind afterwards. So thank you guys for listening, as always, and we'll catch you in the next one.
Peace, guys.
Peace.